Chapter 35:19. Because it was raining heavily, there were very few pedestrians on the road. The taxi didn't park in front of her house because of the one-way street. Instead, it parked in a nearby area. After she walked for 100 meters, she deeply felt that someone was following her in an orderly manner. When she walked slowly, the other person also walked slowly. When she walked quickly, the other person also walked quickly. Oh my God, it can't be a stalker, right? No, no, no. When she walked through the alley, she walked very slowly. If it was a stalker or a gangster, he should have made a move on her that day. But the other person didn't. Could it be? In the next second, Luo Qingshun turned her eyes and looked into the darkness. Sure enough, a figure stopped. She gently frowned and asked, "Is it Yin?" The other person's body was slightly startled. Then, he slowly walked in her direction. He didn't have an umbrella. His figure looked a little lonely. As he walked closer, he coldly said, "Do you really want it to be him?" Lu Yihong. The moment Lu Yihong's voice sounded, Luo Qingshun felt her heart suddenly tremble. Why is he here? Didn't he go home? In an instant, Luo Qingshun ran in his direction without hesitation. She held the umbrella over his head and said, "Why are you here? It's clearly raining. Why don't you have an umbrella?" "I don't want to." She saw his somewhat flustered expression. Her originally sad heart actually had a trace of comfort. "Why are you so willful?" Luo Qingshun looked at him and chuckled. Could it be that school hunk Lu thinks that little fangirl will give you an umbrella, so he deliberately didn't use an umbrella? "Do you think that people can tell that I'm the school hunk when I'm soaked like this?" Lu Yihong looked at her a little angrily and said, "You're still laughing?" He was really going to die from anger. After coming out of school, he had a lot to say to her. In the end, as soon as he stepped into the milk tea shop, Yang Lin told him that he had something to do with Yi Yin and told him to go back first. What kind of feeling was that? It was as if he was decisively abandoned and abandoned. It was as if thousands of ants were crawling on his heart, making it especially unbearable. He didn't even think about it before asking Yang Lin for the address. However, it was very vague. It was only number 3, Southwest Road. Fortunately, he had been here before. Number 3 should be the Apollo Hotel. Why are they going to a hotel? At that time, he was extremely anxious, but it happened to be rush hour, and the road was extremely congested. When he arrived at the Apollo Hotel, they were nowhere to be found. He kept repeating in his heart, "Don't come out of the hotel, don't come out of the hotel." Unexpectedly, in less than 3 minutes, Yi Yin came out of the hotel. He placed the umbrella at the door and walked into the storm alone. Originally, Lu Yihong wanted to ask directly, but he found that Luo Qingshun had also come out of the hotel. She picked up an umbrella and seemed to be looking for Yi Yin. She followed her all the way, and when she crossed the road, he almost jumped over the railing. Unfortunately, Yi Yin was one step ahead of him. He did not want to recall that feeling for the rest of his life. He followed her taxi to her house, and all the way there, he was thinking, since he already liked her so much, why not say it out loud? So what if he was rejected? Wouldn't it be fine if he pestered her shamelessly? End of chapter. Chapter 35:20. But he didn't know why, but when he saw her smile, he actually wasn't angry anymore. The anger that had accumulated in his heart couldn't be stirred up at all. Luo Qingshun saw his serious face gradually become gentle and deliberately gave a few laughs as she said, "Idiot, why are you scolding me? Why can't I scold you?" Luo Qingshun tilted her head and her lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "The school hunk is walking in the rain on this stormy night. Don't you think it's funny?" "I'm not walking in the rain, all right," Lu Yihong explained. "I'm just—" After that, without waiting for Lu Yihong to finish, Luo Qingshun cut him off and said, "Then you're following me." Lu Yihong wanted to say something, but his words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say a single word. There was a pair of complicated emotions in his eyes that people couldn't see through. "If school hunk Lu doesn't have anything else, I'm going home." Luo Qingshun deliberately winked as she said, "You can keep walking in the rain." She was forcing Lu Yihong. She was forcing him to confess to her. Actually, she rarely used this kind of method in the previous world. After all, this was her first time meeting someone like Lu Yihong. Even though his affection was already at 80%, he was still acting like a fool. Instantly, he suddenly grabbed her wrist. Tightly, it was like he was using all the strength in his body. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. No, she should correct this. It wasn't 80%, but rather 90%. Do you like Ian? Louis Hong felt that he was very stupid. He clearly had something more appropriate to say, but he had asked the stupidest question. It sounded stupid, but it was the question she cared about the most in her heart. He was very afraid of knowing the answer. His heart couldn't help beating fast, like it was about to jump out. I don't like him. Luo Qingshan seriously took a deep breath and said, I don't like Yi Yin. Whether I liked him or not in the past, I don't like him now. Silence, silence, silence. There was only silence. No one passed by, not even a car. Other than the sound of the heavy rain, there was no other sound. After an unknown period of time, Louis Hong lowered his eyes and revealed an extremely faint smile. He slowly opened his mouth and seemed to be about to say something, but he felt his head sink and his vision suddenly plunged into darkness. However, he clearly felt that the place where he fell was very warm. Someone seemed to have thrown away the umbrella and hurriedly reached out to hug him, then shouted his name. It was really so warm. At the hospital, when Luo Qingshan dialed 120 and sent Louis Hong to the hospital, the doctor said that he had a high fever of 41 degrees. If the fire continued, it might burn his brain. Sitting in the waiting area, Louis Hong's last words before he fainted echoed in her ears. That's great. You don't like him, but I like you. Although this kind of confession scene didn't seem right, it strangely made her feel very warm. Who is Louis Hong's family member? The nurse's voice interrupted her thoughts. She quickly came forward and said, How is he? He was given an antipyretic shot, and his fever has already gone down. The nurse said he should wake up in half an hour. All right, miss, I'll have to trouble you to pay first, and then you can go see the patient. All right, thank you. End of chapter. Chapter 35:21. Because it was raining, there were many patients who came to the hospital. Luo Qingshan waited in line to pay the bill, and it was already over half an hour before she went to the room. But Louis Hong's eyes were still tightly closed, not showing any signs of waking up at all. She sat by his bed and watched a video on her phone for a while before she fell asleep. The reason why she woke up was because of the system's shocking prompt. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. Instantly, Luo Qingshan suddenly opened her eyes. What entered her eyes was a large face and an ice-cold touch on her lips. There was a bit of warmth that had a certain person's unique aura. You're awake? Louis Hong moved back and touched his ear with his right hand. His expression was a bit unnatural as he said, That's right. Are you feeling guilty? Luo Qingshan bit her lip and said, So you're touching your ear? This action of touching his ear was clearly what she did the most when she felt guilty. How do you know that touching your ear is guilty? Because I also touch my ear when I feel guilty. Cuckoo. Louis Hong gave 2 coughs and said, We're not the same. But actually, she had completely seen through his thoughts. He was feeling guilty, so he touched his ear, because he had secretly kissed her when she was asleep. Che. Luo Qingshan looked at him like she had completely seen through him and said, Are you feeling better? Why is your body so weak that you have a fever? Isn't it because I'm worried about you? Lu Yihong pretended to be careless as he knit his brows and said, You suddenly went to such a far place, and it was raining so heavily. So why are you worried about me? Isn't the main point of this sentence the last sentence? No. Luo Qingshan slightly shook her head and said, It's the first sentence. Actually, she already knew the answer. She just wanted to hear him say it again. A proud man was really strange. He clearly loved someone with his actions, but his mouth was stubborn and he wouldn't say anything. Because I like. Ding-ling. The next second, Luo Qingshan's cell phone rang. She couldn't help but sneer twice in her heart. The timing of the phone's ringtone was really exactly the same as the scenes in idol dramas. The person displayed on the phone screen was none other than Yi Yin. Lu Yihong also saw it at the same time. With an unhappy face, he glanced sideways and said softly, "I won't hinder you from answering the phone." "Ha!" Luo Qingchun smiled helplessly and picked up the phone. "What's wrong? Are we home yet? You didn't reply to my messages." "Not yet. Lu Yihong is sick. I brought him to the hospital." After 2 seconds of silence on the other end of the phone, Yi Yin said solemnly, "Okay, do you need my help?" "No need," Luo Qingchun said with a smile. "He's already as lively as a tiger." It was more than just vigorous and lively. He was still angry with her. "Good. Let me know when you get home." "Yes. Bye-bye." Luo Qingchun didn't say much and directly hung up the phone after giving instructions. Then she looked at Lu Yihong, who was staring at her with a pair of good-looking eyes, and said, "Are you satisfied?" "School hunk, Lu." Lu Yihong was speechless for a second, then showed a faint smile and said, "I'm satisfied. After the 4 drip, I'll send you back." "I should send you back." Lu Yihong's eyebrows moved slightly and said, "Don't you have a class tomorrow afternoon?" "Ha! Good night. This chapter ends." Chapter 35:22. He originally wanted to take this opportunity to directly say the words that had been in his heart for a long time and were about to rot. But in the end, he felt that this rainy day with continuous thunder was too unromantic. There should be more romantic moments between them. Not every moment when her heart was moved was a rainy day, and not every moment when her heart was moved was related to Yi Yin. Luo Qingchun blinked and thought for a moment. "How do you know?" "I can recite your timetable." "Okay." Lu Yihong's proud eyes revealed a faint light. "After tomorrow's class, wait for me. I have something to say to you." In fact, she knew very well what he wanted to say to her. But why not now? Luo Qingchun blinked and said, "Is the atmosphere not good now?" "Of course it's not good," Lu Yihong said with a serious face. "I don't want what I want to say to have anything to do with the rainy day." When he was in junior high school, he often left blank the most hated weather column, because he felt that he didn't have the most hated weather. But if he could change the class record now, he would definitely change it to rainy day. Good. Luo Qingchun smiled helplessly and said, "It's good if you think it's good. Anyway, I have heard what I should hear. Can't you pretend that you didn't hear it?" No. In fact, he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with such an atmosphere. It seemed very good. But the reality was that it was still raining the next day. During class, Luo Qingchun secretly glanced at the classroom next door, but didn't see Lu Yihong. If it weren't for Lu Yihong's reminder, she wouldn't know that their classroom today was next door. But he didn't come to class. Then why did he let her wait for him? Was he sick again? Luo Qingchun thought, and sent him a text message. "You don't have class this afternoon? Luo Qingchun." DD. Lu Yihong's reply to her messages had always been very fast. Perhaps this was his performance of caring about her. Actually, with her EQ, he had always cared about her, but he liked to keep his feelings to himself. He would never say it out loud unless it was absolutely necessary. "Wait for me. I'll be right there." Lu Yihong at this moment. Lu Yihong was carrying large and small cups of milk tea and walking towards the school. There was a lot of traffic on the road, and he couldn't wait to run the red light. Fortunately, their story wasn't as melodramatic as an idol drama. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't be able to see Lu Yihong. Moreover, she couldn't hear his most affectionate confession. In the corridor outside the classroom, she leaned against the guardrail and looked at the young man in front of her who was panting with milk tea in both hands. She smiled warmly. Wow, aren't they the school hunk and school bell? I think so, but it's just a coincidence. Today, there's a computer theory class next door. Why do I feel like it's not a coincidence? I'll go. What if there's a story between the school hunk and school bell? I'll just jump down from here. That's true. They're prettier than you, smarter than you, and their love is more perfect than yours. If that's really the case, let's jump together. Take me with you. You won't be alone on the road. You'll have a companion. Stop bullshitting. This is the second floor. If you jump down consciously, and there are flowers and plants below, at most, you'll get a fracture, okay? Gradually, more and more people gathered around and the discussions became louder and louder. However, this didn't seem to affect the young man's focused confession at all. End of chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 35:23. Remember when I asked you, what kind of milk tea do you like to drink? Lu Yihong's eyes were filled with deep affection. He looked at her seriously and said, but you never told me. I asked a lot of people indirectly, but they didn't know. Yeah. So I bought all the milk tea in Nai's tea shop. Lu Yihong interrupted her and continued, I will give all the milk tea in my hand to the person in my heart. Promise me, let this story have a beginning, okay? Wow, 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 wow. The onlookers around were excited. Luo Qingshun held back her smile and bit her lip. Why do I feel that this script is a bit familiar? This was obviously the script on the cup she made, but it was read in another way, okay? Ahem. Lu Yihong cleared his throat and said, don't care about these details. But in fact, I also prepared coffee. He inadvertently heard Yang Lin mention that Yi Yin said that she had a special study of coffee. Perhaps she had never said which kind of milk tea she liked to drink because she liked to drink coffee. However, his heart was resistant. He actually didn't want her to choose this cup of coffee. Don't you know? Luo Qingshun slowly walked forward, picked up the Sakura milk tea at the front, and said, in fact, I don't like to drink coffee at all. But Yi Yin said, just like I don't like Yi Yin. She wanted to tell Lu Yihong in front of everyone about her relationship with Yi Yin. Some relationships didn't need to be hidden. The past was the past. There was nothing worth hiding. There were some people in her life who were upright from the beginning to the end. Qingshun, Lu Yihong was stunned for a moment. His eyes were filled with a warm light, and he seemed a little excited. Perhaps it should be said that he was excited, because whether it was what he heard from others or what he saw, Yi Yin had always been a hurdle in his heart. He thought that he was more handsome than Yi Yin. His family background was better than Yi Yin, and even smarter than Yi Yin. But he sat under the lemon tree, feeling sour alone for a long time. Was he not good at expressing himself? No, it wasn't. Some love, once expressed under uncertain circumstances, he might not even be able to be friends with her. If he maintained this state, perhaps he could use his own way to stay by her side. That was the truest thought in his heart. However, the throbbing in his heart became more and more uncontrollable with the passage of time. He wanted to say his true thoughts. If you're rejected, like a rascal, he repeated it over and over again. My advertising slogan should be pretty good, right? Luo Qingshun took a sip of milk tea and chuckled. What's the score? The surrounding noises suddenly rose, but at this moment, Luo Qingshun seemed to be unable to hear anything. There was only Lu Yihong's smile in her eyes and Lu Yihong's laughter in her ears. However, at this moment, a slightly mature female voice slowly sounded from the other side of the corridor. She was wearing a black leather jacket, and her slightly curly long hair was tied up, making her look exceptionally capable. Under the sunglasses were a pair of beautiful and charming eyes. It's just at this moment, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Jiang Wenwen pushed up her sunglasses and put her hands in her pockets. The corner of her mouth outlined a very faint smile and said, it seems that you two are already together. In an instant, the surrounding onlookers began to discuss. End of chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 35:24. Oh my God, isn't this Jiang Wenwen? Wow, is it a battle between the school bells? But this gives people the feeling that campus hunk Lu is a bit of a jerk. Yes, didn't he just confess to Jiang Wenwen at the school sports meet? Why did he confess to Luo Qingshun all of a sudden? Please, campus hunk Lu was rejected by Jiang Wenwen. What can he do? He can't hang himself on a tree, right? The opinions around were different, and no one was completely biased to one side. This was the first time that Luo Qingshun saw Jiang Wenwen so closely. She was indeed a very temperamental beauty. Although she wore sunglasses, temperament was sometimes not dependent on the face. Ahem. Lu Yihong cleared his throat and looked at Jiang Wenwen with an extremely unnatural expression. What are you doing here? Why can't I come? Jiang Wenwen looked at him with a contemptuous face and said, why did you forget to come now that you have a new lover? In the next second, before Lu Yihong could speak, Jiang Wenwen had bypassed him, politely took off her sunglasses, and stood in front of Luo Qingshun and said, "Hello, student Luo. I'm Jiang Woman. I've heard a lot about you." Her eyes were very beautiful. They were big phoenix eyes, and there was a charming look in her eyes. Although Lu Yihong's eyes did not have such a charming look, there were still similarities between them. "Student Jiang, I've heard a lot about you." Luo Qingshun paused and said, "Maybe I should call you Yihong's cousin." At this moment, the voices that were still in discussion immediately stopped abruptly. Even Lu Yihong and Jiang Wenwen's faces showed an incredulous look. How do you know?" Jiang Wenwen widened her eyes and said, "It's impossible for anyone to know about my relationship with Yihong." Jiang Wenwen was admitted to Z University 2 years earlier than Lu Yihong because she was already a popular figure in the school. Therefore, when Lu Yihong also applied for this school, Jiang Wenwen said that she must not expose the relationship between them. After all, the sister was the school belle, and the brother was the school belle. More people would definitely disturb their life. 2. Luo Qingshun made a 2-hand gesture and said, "First, Lu Yihong once mentioned to me that his uncle opened a very famous Zhang snack shop. At that time, he also told Brother Yang Lin about the marketing method, but it was rejected by 3 of us." Lu Yihong looked at her in surprise and said, "You actually still remember." He thought that he had just mentioned it casually, but he did not expect that she would take it to heart and secretly interpret the relationship between him and Jiang Wenwen. "How can you be so smart?" "Wow!" Jiang Wenwen looked at Luo Qingshun with admiration. "This analysis is so cool." She didn't forget to look at Lu Yihong and said, "Cousin, did you see that? She's also a guaranteed student. How can she be so outstanding?" When Lu Yihong heard this, he didn't feel unhappy at all. Instead, he replied happily, "Thank you for the compliment, sister. I thank you on behalf of my Qingshun." "I-oh." Jiang Wenwen immediately made a teasing sound and said, "You're still proud." "Of course." Lu Yihong showed a nice smile and looked at Luo Qingshun and said, "So what's the second point?" "Oh, right. Luo Qingshun almost forgot the second point and immediately said, "Because you two look alike." End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 35-25. He always felt that there was something wrong with this sentence, but after carefully reading every word, he found that there was nothing wrong with it. Ha 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 ha. A few seconds later, Jiang Wenwen laughed awkwardly and said, "What you said is quite reasonable. Qingshun doesn't like to drink coffee, but I like to drink it." As her voice fell, she took the only cup of coffee in Lu Yihong's hand and continued, "Brother, this cup of coffee is your filial piety to your sister. After the matter between you and me in the school sports meet last time spread out, I was afraid that my Prince Charming would also know." In the next second, she suddenly felt that she seemed to have said something wrong and hurriedly covered her mouth. Lu Yihong raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at her with a look of watching a show. He said, "So, when did you have a Prince Charming? Even I didn't know." "Of course you didn't know." Jiang Wenwen pouted and said, "I thought I would never see him in my life. I didn't expect him to be admitted to this school." "What do you mean by still being a brother? What's wrong with being a brother?" Jiang Wenwen said with her hands on her hips, "He is an upright man, unlike you." Jiang Wenwen showed a disdainful expression as she spoke. Lu Yihong narrowed his eyes slightly and said softly with his thin lips, "What's wrong with me? In order to let the person you like confess to you, you don't hesitate to write a love letter in the name of others." In the next second, Luo Qingshun was stunned and looked at him in disbelief. She said, "I was wondering why it was so strange. Why would there be a different person writing a love letter for you every day? It turned out to be you." Jiang Wenwen, I-oh, I'm angry. Jiang Wenwen immediately waved her hand and said, "I'll leave first. Thank you for your milk tea. Bye, Qingshun." "Bye." Jiang Wenwen left very quickly, for fear that Lu Yihong would catch up with her. At this time, Luo Qingshun seemed to have figured out another thing. So, suddenly announcing that you won't accept any love letters was also part of your plan. Luo Qingshun crossed her arms and looked at Lu Yihong with a scrutinizing look. In an instant, Lu Yihong hurriedly put all the milk tea outside the window next to him. He raised his hands in surrender and said, I really don't know what better way to cross paths with you. This method is very stupid, okay? Luo Qingshan slightly turned her eyes away. Although her cheeks were a little red, she was happy in her heart. Some people were racking their brains to think of a way to meet him. As for her, she only needed to stand in place and wait for this encounter. In such an early winter season, it was really warm. I know. Lu Yihong took her hand and looked at her affectionately, regardless of the eyes of others, and said, But I just want to see you write me a love letter. Although it may have nothing to do with love in your eyes, I often think of myself as the real male protagonist. Wow, wow, wow. One of the onlookers who were holding their breath and staring at the scene couldn't help but stomp her feet and scream. Lu Yihong looked at everyone with a gentlemanly face and said, The rest of the milk tea is my treat. I hope you can take care of Qingshan more in the future. Don't do bad things because she's my girlfriend. School hunk Lu, you can rest assured about this. The girl who screamed just now picked a cup of taro milk tea and drank it while saying, The current society is relatively simple. Most girls like other girls. It had to be said that Lu Yihong was scared by such a somewhat frightening remark, and his face turned slightly pale. Little did he know that another person said, That's reasonable. So in the future, when I call Qingshan my wife and daughter-in-law, school hunk Lu must not be angry because we are sisters. There's more after midnight. This short story is relatively short. It's almost over. In fact, it's not short. Haha. Condensed is the essence. This chapter ends. NBSB. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 35-26. On the tree-lined path of the campus, the air was filled with the faint fragrance of cherry blossoms. Lu Yihong held her hand and walked slowly. He didn't know why, but he wasn't nervous just now, but now he was extremely nervous. He always felt that he was holding a treasure that he had to protect for the rest of his life. However, I didn't think that you would write me a love letter. Luo Qingshan's mouth raised a faint smile, her eyes filled with warmth. It was as if she didn't come here to complete a mission, but to heal her heart. Or perhaps she had experienced so many things that she preferred to do things from her heart. Because when there was no purpose in doing something, there would be more surprises and expectations. Yes, Lu Yihong's eyes flashed with a touch of success, looking at her and saying, I also specially want to find different people to write a total of 7 love letters so that you can write me a love letter every day for a week. How is it? Isn't it very romantic? The next second, Luo Qingshan decisively let go of his hand, her eyes drooping. Her whole body seemed to emit bursts of anger. What's wrong? Lu Yihong was stunned and said, You don't think it's romantic? Luo Qingshan still didn't speak. This time Lu Yihong was a little anxious. Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do this kind of thing in the future. In an instant, Luo Qingshan suddenly nodded and said, You mean to say that you only wrote a total of 7 love letters to yourself? Yes. So the other love letters were real love letters written to you by people in our school? Lu Yihong suddenly realized the seriousness of the problem. Coupled with Luo Qingshan's condemning look, he felt that his back was drenched in sweat. Actually, there weren't many. In an instant, Luo Qingshan put her hands on her hips and interrupted him. Then why didn't you accept love letters later? She had a good crush on a small shop, because Lu Yihong's sales plummeted. He was only a freshman. There would be a lot of little fangirls writing love letters to Lu Yihong in the new semester. In accordance with the principle of worship, the previous host shouldn't ruin other people's feelings. How can the host say that you want to make money in such a dignified manner? What does it have to do with you? Because I want you to come find me. Lu Yihong slightly nodded, his deep eyes filled with a faint light, the snow-white petals falling down with the wind. You. Because I'm deeply in love, I'm afraid of your rejection. Lu Yihong took a step forward and walked closer to her. He narrowed his eyes and said, But your silence makes me feel that you may get further and further away from me, so I can't wait any longer. Humph! Luo Qingshan gave a soft laugh as she said with a teasing look in her eyes, Actually, school hunk Lu's confession is very seductive. Yes, Luo is. While Luo Qingshun was thinking about how to answer, Lu Yihong had already leaned over and sealed it with a kiss. Without giving her any time to think, on this incomparably romantic path, he completely made her his girlfriend. Moreover, she would never be able to escape. She didn't struggle, she just closed her eyes and felt the love of 18 years old, the kiss of 18 years old, and the person she met at 18 years old. After an unknown amount of time, it began to snow. He took off his jacket and put it on her. Let's go eat first. I booked a restaurant, you should like it. Luo Qingshun liked Vietnamese food, which he had heard from Yiyan. Although he was still a bit unhappy, he had actually gone to find Yiyan before confessing to her. Chapter 35:27. Luo Qingshun didn't know about this, and she didn't need to know either. It was a rainy night. Lu Yihong met Yiyan at a very ordinary place, a street food stall. It wasn't because he looked down on Yiyan, but this might be more respectful of his performance. He knew that Yiyan often worked and had several jobs. When Yiyan arrived, it was already 9:30 in the evening. Lu Yihong put a glass of cold beer in front of him and said, "Want a drink?" It was normal for Yiyan not to drink. When Su Qiuji was sick, he couldn't drink because he had to maintain a high level of concentration 24 hours a day, almost all the time. Alcohol could numb people's nerves, so he didn't dare to drink. But at this moment, he felt that he had to drink. The tab was opened. After taking a big gulp, he looked up slightly and said, "You're looking for me because of Qingshun, right?" As a man, even if Luo Qingshun didn't understand, he knew very well in his heart. The way he looked at her was full of melancholy, while the way he looked at her was full of hostility. Yes, Lu Yihong drank the can of beer in front of him and said, "I like her." He didn't hide anything and said the truest words in his heart. He didn't want to hide it, but before he laid his cards on the table with Luo Qingshun, he planned to lay his cards on the table with Yiyan first. After all, he really wanted to know if Yiyan was his rival in love. If he was, then it was a fair competition. If he wasn't, he didn't need to be so hostile to Yiyan. Although this hostility was deeply engraved in his heart, he still wanted to know. "Yes, you're very direct." Yiyan's eyebrows moved slightly and said, "So the reason you came to me is to ask for my permission? You think too much." Lu Yihong didn't like Yiyan's tone and narrowed his eyes. "I just came to tell you, I don't need your permission." "That's right." The next second, Yiyan showed a faint smile and said, "If you really like someone, then try your best to fight for it and never give up until the last one. Of course, you don't need anyone's permission." Well, he liked Su Qiuji, the whole world opposed it. But he only recognized his own heart. As long as he followed his heart, it didn't matter how hard and tiring it was. When Yiyan and Lu Yihong said these words, he was a little surprised, because he never thought that such words would come from Yiyan's mouth. "You should know that I used to like someone, but she's no longer in this world." Yezis took another sip. The pleasure of carbon dioxide and alcohol to make peoples to be talkative and become more talkative and to be braver. He burped and continued. "At that time, the huge medical bills were suffocating me. I couldn't sleep every night, hoping that the end of the world would come the next day." Yiyan showed a faint smile and said, "She paid for a lot of Xi's medical expenses. I didn't know how to thank her, so I could only return the money to her as soon as possible. I didn't want her to live so hard." These were Yiyan's heartfelt words, and Lu Yihong, who was sitting opposite him, listened attentively. The rain was getting heavier, but the knot in his heart was slowly being untied. Chapter 35:28. After an unknown amount of time, he suddenly stood up, opened a new bottle of beer, and drank it all in one gulp. Then he looked at Yiyan and said, "You don't need to worry. You don't even need to rush. She has me in the future. I won't let her suffer." Yiyan nodded slightly. Looking at Lu Yihong's slightly excited eyes, his thin lips softly said, "Okay, I will confess to her tomorrow." Lu Yihong said, "I don't know if she will accept me, but even if she doesn't, I will always like her." "Okay." Yiyan took a deep breath and said, "She likes Vietnamese food." After Lu Yihong left the food stall, Yiyan sat there alone for a long time. He opened cans of beer one by one, drinking them one by one. He didn't even know why he kept drinking. He only felt that as he drank, his eyes turned red and tears fell unconsciously. It was said that men don't cry easily. He didn't think that he was a sentimental person. When he was in the first year of high school, he had a car accident and had 7 fractures all over his body, but he didn't shed a single tear. He just gritted his teeth and persevered. But now, he felt that he had become weak. Why did he cry? He didn't know. Maybe it was because she had found her own happiness. That man would definitely treat her well. Maybe it was because the person who had always been by her side was finally leaving. He would keep these feelings in his heart his whole life. He wouldn't tell anyone. He wouldn't let anyone know. If she could be happy, he would bless her from the bottom of his heart. Forever blessing. About 3 kilometers away from the school, there was a very good Vietnamese restaurant. She used to eat here often, but after paying Su Chioji's medical fees, she rarely came to eat here. Most of the time, she would eat in the cafeteria or eat a few buns to fill her stomach. When Lu Yihong brought her to this Vietnamese restaurant, she was actually a little surprised. "How did you know that I like Vietnamese food?" Lu Qingshun blinked and said, "It's such an unpopular cuisine. If you tell me that you guessed it, I won't believe you." Actually, it wasn't that she liked Vietnamese food, but that the original owner liked Vietnamese food. Since they were one, their tastes would naturally be very similar. "Yian told me." Lu Yihong looked at her and said, "He said you like Vietnamese food." Yian? Luo Qingshun was slightly taken aback. She looked into his eyes and said, You went to look for Yian?" "Yes." He put his hands in his pockets and said proudly, "Don't you want me to look for him? Isn't it?" Luo Qingshun blinked her eyes and said, "I just thought that you would actually look for a love rival in your heart." To be honest, Luo Qingshun had never thought that Lu Yihong, with such a proud temperament, would actually look for Yian. He must have hesitated for a long time before making this decision. Wait a minute. Lu Yihong seemed to be focusing on something else. His eyebrows moved slightly as he said, "You know that I see him as a rival in love, yet you're still so close to him. Tell me, are you trying to anger me on purpose?" "Just a little bit." Luo Qingshun immediately revealed a bright smile. She took his wrist and said, "Otherwise, how could school hunk Lu have the courage to confess to me?" "Then why didn't you confess to me? You knew that I would definitely agree." Not only would he agree, he would probably dance around in excitement. Chapter 35:29. Hey. Luo Qingshun glanced at him and said, "Please, you just confessed to Jiang Wenwen at the school sports day, and I confess to you. How shameful would that be?" I deliberately made you angry, okay?" Lu Yihong looked at her smiling appearance and directly surrendered. "And, if not, how could I have crossed paths with you?" He always felt that he must create opportunities between them to have this so-called accidental meeting. Otherwise, they wouldn't see each other at school for 2 or 3 weeks. Always shallow fate, but deep affection. "Okay." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, "Did he also tell you to take good care of me in the future?" "More or less." Lu Yihong waved his hand and said, "Don't talk about him. Let's eat first." Okay. This was a very good Vietnamese restaurant. Just less than 10 minutes after they sat down, a pair of familiar figures came in through the door. Yes, not one, but a pair. Yihong, cousin. Lu Yihong and Jiang Wenwen showed an incredulous look at the same time. Their eyes were full of admiration for the ingenuity of fate. What was even more inconceivable was that the man standing beside Jiang Wenwen was none other than Yian. The moment the 4 people looked at each other, Luo Qingshun felt that it was too much of a coincidence. It seemed that she and Lu Yihong were the only 2 people who were not fated to be together. She and Yian were not included. "Since we met, let's eat together." Yian's eyes were indifferent. No expression could be seen. "Okay." Lu Yihong nodded and said, "But cousin, when did you like to eat Vietnamese food? And you? How do you know Yian?" Lu Yihong probably had too many doubts in his heart, so he didn't delve into the feelings behind this coincidence. You all know each other?" Jiang Wenwen looked even more surprised. After all, she never thought that there would be such a coincidence. Yes, she liked Yian. That was something that happened between her and Yi Yin before Lu Yihong entered Z University. That day, it was still a very, very hot summer. Jiang Wenwen originally came to the hospital to get medicine for her grandmother. However, due to lack of exercise and standing under the sun for too long, she directly fainted. And a dramatic scene actually happened in her life. The moment she fainted, a person dropped everything in his hands, rushed over, and held her firmly. Although Jiang Wenwen was very uncomfortable at that time, she still had some consciousness. She could feel the smell of alcohol coming from him, and she could also feel his tall and mighty stature. He carried her to a cool place and gently fanned her with a piece of paper. She woke up. "Are you okay?" Ian handed her the unopened bottle of mineral water he had just bought and said, "You should have a heat stroke." "Thank you." Jiang Wenwen's face was red. She didn't know if it was because of the heat stroke or because she was shy, but she only felt that her heart was beating very fast, as if it was going to jump out. Later, she probably understood why she had that kind of feeling. Perhaps at that time, she fell in love with Yi Yin at first sight. But she also knew that he had a girlfriend. At that time, they just kept each other. But the memories were too turbulent, hitting her heart again and again. Later, God finally favored her once. She saw Yi Yin's name on Z University's freshman admission list. Chapter 35:30. She had asked Yi Yin out many times, but Yi Yin had never agreed. This time, however, he agreed and even recommended a Vietnamese restaurant to her. She had no interest in Vietnamese food, but as long as it was something Yi Yin liked, she would like it. The original date of 2 people became 4 people, and no one seemed to care. Luo Qingshun looked at Yi Yin for a long time. There was a very complicated emotion in his eyes. It seemed like he was enduring silently, but it also seemed like he was sorrowful. But he hit it very deeply. If it wasn't because she was good at reading people, she wouldn't have been able to see Yi Yin's emotions. Actually, the original owner didn't like Vietnamese food very much in the beginning, but Yi Yin mentioned that he liked it once, so she took the opportunity to say that she also liked it. Every time she went to eat, she would think of Yi Yin and she would feel very warm. Over time, Vietnamese food became one of her favorite cuisines. At the table, after spending a bit of time, Luo Qingxin talked about her relationship with Yi Yin and Lu Yihong. Jiang Wenwen suddenly realized, "So you all know each other? If I knew earlier, I would have had Qingxun help me ask Yin out. It's too hard to ask him out. He's a really busy person." Luo Qingxun pursed her lips and said with a smile, "I don't have that much face. If I owe you money, you don't have to pay it back. I have time every day." Yin raised his eyes and said with a faint smile, "And I'll be there whenever you call." This smile was very shallow, but in Luo Qingxun's eyes, Yin had a bitter smile. Did he have something on his mind? Was it because of what happened in the hotel that day, and he still hadn't completely let it go? "Humph." Luo Qingxun crossed her arms and said with a snort, "No, you have to pay it back properly." "He still wants to borrow money from you?" Jiang Wenwen gently bit her lips and said, "How about I pay it back for him first? I also think that it's too hard for him to work so much every day." Jiang Wenwen's every word was showing goodwill to Yi Yin, and it was a very obvious goodwill. "No need." Yi Yin shook his head and said, "I feel more at ease if I owe her money." Luo Qingxun was slightly stunned. She naturally felt the alienation in Yi Yin's tone. She hurriedly tried to smooth things over and said, "This money was used to pay for my friend's medical bills." "Oh." Jiang Wenwen's attention shifted. After thinking for a long time, she said, "I know." That girl, she knew. Although she had only met her once, the girl's figure was firmly imprinted in her mind. No matter how much she didn't want to admit it, she had to. He loved that girl, and he loved her very much. Lu Yihong naturally felt Luo Qingxun's awkwardness. He hurriedly mediated, "Eat whatever you want. It's my treat today." The next second, Jiang Wenwen immediately said, "You said it yourself. See if I don't make you poor." Luo Qingxun looked at Lu Yihong with a faint smile. He quietly held her hand, and his palm was warm. Although everyone didn't talk much during the meal, they ate very happily. Except for the slight awkwardness at the beginning, Luo Qingxun and Jiang Wenwen chatted more in the end. Lu Yihong kept putting food in her bowl. Yi put food in both her and Jiang Wenwen's bowl. However, the types of food were not the same. He knew what kind of cuisine she liked to eat, so he habitually put food in her bowl. Naturally, there was a deliberate intention that no one knew. In fact, it wasn't that no one knew. At least, Luo Qingshan herself knew. Chapter 35-31. After the meal, Lu Yihong got up to pay the bill. After he left his seat, Luo Qingshan suddenly felt a gaze on her. Actually, she already had this feeling when she first entered the restaurant. After all, she had been an assassin for a long time, so she was more sensitive to her surroundings than normal people. Later, when she sat in the corner of the sofa, this gaze was mostly blocked by Lu Yihong. Now that he got up, it became even more obvious. Who? Who was looking at them? Instantly, she pretended not to know and looked at Jiang Wenwen. I'll go see if there's any ice cream. Sister Wenwen, do you want it? Okay. I want vanilla. Okay. Luo Qingshan got up slowly and walked towards a direction where she felt the gaze. In the southeast direction behind her, there was indeed a person wearing a black dress, a black hat, and black sunglasses. She didn't look at her directly, but glanced at her from the corner of her eyes when she passed by her. There were only two kinds of people who dressed like this in a restaurant. One was a celebrity, and the other was a detective. It was obvious that this person wasn't a celebrity, but she could be a detective. But when she saw the watch on her right wrist from the corner of her eyes, she confirmed that person's identity. Yuro. She saw her wearing this watch the last time in the hotel room. Plus, her figure and hair color were exactly the same, so she should be Yuro. But why did Yuro come to this restaurant to eat? Was she here to look for someone? Or was she here to follow someone? Could it be that the person following her was Yi Yin? She wanted to confirm it, but in this kind of situation where there were so many people, she really couldn't confirm it. Moreover, she and Yi Yin were only friends, and this kind of thing was his private matter. Now that she was with Lu Yihong, she shouldn't ask too much. But 2 days later, she saw Yuro again. This time, it was at the school gate. In order to prevent the other party from noticing that she had left, she purposely went around her and patted her shoulder from behind. Miss you. Are you waiting for someone? Yuro was obviously shocked. Her face was slightly pale. To be honest, she really looked too similar to Su Qiuji. At that moment, she had a feeling that Su Qiuji had come back to life and was standing in front of her. She took a deep breath, and her voice actually trembled a little. Luo Qingshan looked at her nervous appearance and gently frowned. Don't tell me you're here to find Yi and I just wanted to see him. Why? Luo Qingshan's clear eyes flashed with surprise as she looked at her and said, Why did you come to find Yi Yan? You and him shouldn't know each other. No, nothing. Yuro's voice was a little stuttering, in addition to her evasive manner. Luo Qingshan was quite sure that she was hiding something. Moreover, this matter was definitely related to Yi Yan. It was just that Luo Qingshan's brain was currently stuck in a mess. She completely couldn't imagine what kind of relationship Yuro had with Yi Yan. This was not a fantasy world. It was impossible for Su Qiuji to revive and become Yuro. In other words, Yuro was Yuro. Since Yi Yan had never seen Yuro, it meant that the two of them didn't know each other. I said it's nothing. Yuro lowered her black baseball cap and planned to turn and leave. In the next second, Luo Qingshan grabbed her wrist and said, The person at the Vietnamese restaurant that day was also you, right? I'll call Yi Yan and ask him to come out. Chapter 35-32. Instantly, Luo Qingshan took out her phone and planned to call Yi Yan. Actually, she didn't plan to call him. She just wanted to force Yuro. She had been following them time and time again. There must be something going on. Don't call. Yuro grabbed her wrist. Don't call. I'm going abroad soon. Abroad? Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes. Where are you going? Why do you want to go abroad? Although Luo Qingshan felt that she was overstepping her boundaries by asking this question, but Yuro's eyes made her feel that something was wrong. The next second, she took a deep breath, took out a cigarette from her pocket, took a deep puff, and said, Are you willing to listen to a story? Naishu at milk tea shop. Because it was the afternoon after school, there were more people coming and going. Luo Qingshan asked Yang Kwa to give her a small private room. Although the milk tea shop was small, there were still 2 small private rooms on the second floor. After Yuro put her eyes into the ashtray, she revealed a helpless smile and said, "I look very different from Xiaoji." If it was a helpless smile, it would be better to say it was a bitter smile. Last time when she saw Yuro, her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. At that time, Luo Qingxun felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong. But these 2 times Yuro kept following them. It made her curious to the limit. "You are you. She is she." Luo Qingxun looked at her seriously. "You are different." "Yes. Although we are 2 different people, but we have a lot of things in common." A thin mist flashed past Yuro's eyes. Same face, same experience, same interest. Hopelessly in love with a person. At that moment, Luo Qingxun felt her heart thumped. Her brain was spinning quickly. Even at that moment, an unbelievable thought flashed in her mind. This kind of thought was bold, but also scary. "The person you're talking about." Luo Qingxun took a cold breath. "It can't be Yin, right? Do you know?" Yuro lit up a cigarette. The entire private room was filled with smoke. She smoked skillfully and said, "I'm also very good at drawing." "Painting?" Luo Qingxun's eyes flashed with surprise. She stared at her and said, "Could it be? Seems like you've guessed it." Yuro's black eyes sparkled with admiration as she looked at Luo Qingxun. "You are really smart." The air was silent for a long time until Luo Qingxun recovered from her surprise. She closed her eyes and said, "I'm willing to listen to your story." It was a heart-wrenching story. It was the elder sister's forbearance and great love. Su Qiuji and Yuro were twins. They were born very close to each other, but Yuro was born 2 minutes earlier, so she became the older sister. The so-called love at first sight in Yiyan's life was actually not Su Qiuji, but Yuro. Su Qiuji's health was not good since she was young. It was probably because the elder sister absorbed the younger sister's nutrients, causing her to fall sick frequently. Later, when she said that she wanted to learn how to paint, but she could not go out, Yuro took her place and used the younger sister's name to register. After Yin and Yuro fell in love at first sight, Yin sent her home, and Su Qiuji, who was standing on the balcony, saw them. She said, "Sister, I like that boy. Can you give him to me?" She said, "Sister, you are better than me in everything since you were young. Can you give him to me this time?" She said, "Sister, please." Chapter 35-33. At that time, my heart felt like it was splashed with a bucket of ice water. "Can I do it?" Yuro smoked another cigarette and said, "Then," I promised her. Then Su Qiuji went to continue her art lessons, using her own identity. Luo Qingxun's heart turned a bit cold. That petite girl in her impression actually said these kind of words that force people to do things. That day, I didn't tell you the truth. We used to live together, but I moved away after that day. Yuro laughed bitterly and said, "I'm weak, so I couldn't face it calmly and planned to disappear completely. So it's like this." After that, she fell sick. I want to see her, but she asked me to leave like a crazy person. Yuro's eyes were filled with tears. When she said this, her voice trembled slightly. She said, "Please, don't let Ian see you, okay? This is my only wish before I die." Yuro, actually I know. She couldn't control her emotions. She looked down and cried. I know that she really likes Ian. I know that if she didn't really like him, she wouldn't have begged me like that. But I like him too. I also like him with all my might. Luo Qingxun took 2 pieces of tissue and passed it to her. She sighed softly and said, "Don't cry. You're a good girl. You will meet someone who really likes you, and not someone who will forget you at first sight." It was probably her words that touched the last chord in her heart, causing her to break down and cry in an instant. Tears fell drop by drop. She covered her face while Luo Qingxun patted her back softly. In this story, Su Qiuji was wrong, but she was already dead. The dead were the most important, so there was no wrong or right. Knock, knock, knock. Yangqua's voice suddenly sounded. "Qingxun, are you guys inside?" "Yes." Luo Qingxun replied and said, "What's wrong?" "No, Yin is here. He said that he came to return your money." "Okay, I'll go down now." Luo Qingxun replied and turned to look at Yuro. "Since you're here, do you want to go out together?" "No, I think I'd better." Even if it's just an understated farewell, it will become the symbol of the end of the story. Luo Qingshun opened the door of the private room and said, "Think about it yourself. I'm just making a suggestion." It had to be said that Baldy's hair grew really fast. It didn't take long for Yi Yan's hair to grow out. His skin had also become fair. In short, he had become more handsome. "Brother, you don't have to work so hard." Luo Qingshun took the envelope full of banknotes and said, "In fact, I'm not short of money. You can have a good rest if you work less." "Yes." Ian nodded and said, "I've already resigned. The main thing is that the time is too tight. I'm afraid that, what? If anything happens to you, I won't be able to make it in time." Of course, Ian did not say this out loud. "Nothing." Ian shook his head and said, "What were you doing in the private room?" He hung. "No." Luo Qingshun's eyebrows moved slightly and said, "It's me." Yu Ro tidied up her appearance and walked out of the private room. Although she touched up her makeup a little, it could still be seen that her eyes were red and swollen. It was obvious that she had cried. "It's you?" Ian frowned slightly. There was a slight hostility in his eyes. And this kind of hostility was the most painful to Yu Ro's heart. Chapter 35-34. Classmate Yi, you don't have to show such an expression, because you won't be able to see me very soon. Yu Ro narrowed her eyes. The broken expression just now had completely disappeared, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. Luo Qingshun looked at this smile and actually felt sad. I'm going abroad." Yu Ro said lightly. "I'm going to Canada with my little boyfriend." "Okay." Ian glanced sideways, his tone slightly cold as he said, "That's good too. I'll never come back." Yu Ro shrugged and said, "I don't want you to be in a bad mood when you see this face." Ian seemed to feel that he shouldn't treat Yu Ro like this. Although he was still frowning, his tone was much better. "I'm not in a bad mood. I just haven't gotten used to it yet." He hadn't gotten used to the face that he buried with his own hands appearing in front of him. Yu Ro took a deep breath. Luo Qingshun seemed to be able to feel her holding back her sobs. She looked at Ian deeply and said, "Let's not meet again." Ian was stunned, and then said, "Have a safe trip." In the next second, Yu Ro said goodbye to Luo Qingshun and walked towards the door. The melodious sound of the wind chime made a ding-ding-ding sound. Yu Ro suddenly stopped and turned to look at him, saying, "Because dark red is my favorite color. In Canada, you can make a wish as long as you hold a red maple leaf." As soon as her voice fell, she left without hesitation and didn't look back. Yi Yin was stunned. The expression in his eyes changed from confusion to fear, and then to calmness. He knew the meaning of Yu Ro's words, but he didn't know why Yu Ro would say this. When he met Su Qiuji for the first time, he saw her painting autumn maple leaf. At that time, he asked her why the maple leaf was still red, because most people use yellow. She only smiled and didn't answer. Until the end, he didn't know the answer. "But Yu Ro, Ian," Luo Qingshun patted his shoulder lightly and said, "Don't think too much. She will be happy." How did you know?" "Because for those who have been hurt by love, there will definitely be another person to heal the wound." Luo Qingshun smiled and said, "She is a good person and will definitely be rewarded." Before Yu Ro boarded the plane, she sent a message to Luo Qingshun. It was a simple sentence, but it had too many meanings. "Actually, you have paid more than me. You will be happy with him." "Yu Ro," she replied to the message almost instantly. "I have found happiness, but not with him." Luo Qingshun. She believed that Yu Ro would be happy. No matter how much of her story was true or false, she believed it. It was another weekend. Because the first half of the semester was about to end, the students in the school were preparing for summer jobs. Z University was a very good school. Some big companies would also take advantage of the summer holidays to come here to recruit talents. Liu Yihong was an outstanding talent, so he was naturally a hot target. As for Luo Qingshun, because she had to work part-time to earn her living expenses, her parents felt guilty. After educating her mentally, they found that she no longer lent money to Yi Yin and restored her living expenses. Actually, the two elders were always paying attention to her. After all, they were her biological parents. They were the ones who felt the most uneasy when her living expenses were stopped. Chapter 35. The dean of a department in the school was a relative of their family, and he reported the situation to them from time to time. Her parents knew that she had a good life, so they didn't worry too much. They planned to find time and excuse to give her living expenses again. After all, she was the daughter of a big entrepreneur, and it was unreasonable for her to work part-time. Naishu milk tea shop. Louis Hong sat in front of her, typing crazily on the keyboard, and didn't say a word to her for half an hour. And the expression on his face was uncertain. It seemed that he had encountered something that made him unhappy. Ahem. Luo Qingshun finally couldn't help but clear her throat and say, "What problem did you encounter? Why don't you share it with me? Maybe I can give you some advice." "It's okay. It's about the internship during the summer vacation." Louis Hong raised his hand and touched her head. "I can handle it. What's the benefit of being an intern?" Luo Qingchen looked at him and said, "Could it be that school hunk Lu is this outstanding that many companies are interested in you?" "Yes." Lu Yihong showed a helpless smile and said, "Yes." In fact, the most important thing was not about which company he would go to for an internship, but that his parents wanted to help him arrange a partner. Although his family was not an aristocratic family, it was a well-known entrepreneur in the city. His family was not rich for generations. They started to work hard from his grandfather's generation, but his father's generation had some achievements. And the rise of a large number of new industries in recent years made them fall into a bottleneck. He originally wanted to work in his father's company directly after graduation, and he even had his own plan on how to expand the business. But his father seemed to be a little impatient and especially wanted to use family ties to get more resources in this circle. He didn't like this feeling very much, but if he didn't go to the wine party, it would make his father lose face. But if he went, it would make the other party feel that he had compromised. "Which companies are there?" Luo Qingchen blinked and looked at him and asked, "Is there one you like?" Louis Hong looked at Luo Qingchen's eyes and was about to say something, but suddenly thought of a countermeasure. "Qingchen, are you free this weekend?" Come with me to a place on Sunday." Louis Hong's eyes carried a touch of gentleness as he said, "Dress more formally. Let's go eat and drink." Since he couldn't change his parents' decision, he might as well let them know that he had a girlfriend so that they wouldn't have a chance. "Dress up formally?" Luo Qingshun looked up doubtfully. "Where are you going?" "A cocktail party." Louis Hong looked at her and said, "I'll take you to meet my parents." "Parents?" Luo Qingchan froze for a moment. She was just a freshman. How could she have to meet the parents? "I can't help it. My parents are more concerned about my marriage." Louis Hong looked at her and said, "Although their tempers are a little strange, I think they will definitely like you." He had confidence in his girlfriend, and he was very confident in her. But I have something to do on Sunday." Luo Qingchen blinked and said, "Maybe I can't go with you." "Oh." Although Louis Hong was a little disappointed, he still touched her head gently and said, "It's okay. If you need me to pick you up, call me at any time." "Okay." In fact, she was going to attend a celebrity cocktail party held by her family this weekend. She heard that many important people in the circle would come to this cocktail party. Chapter 35-36. She usually didn't go to these kinds of events, but this time was especially important. After all, her parents were already very dissatisfied with her applying to Z University. If she didn't go, her living expenses would be cut off again. She didn't want to go back to being poor again. The host clearly made so much money, but you still say you're poor. "Oh, equals oh hashtag. What does it have to do with you?" The system is so cute, it's not likable at all. Because Louis Hong insisted on not accepting any more love letters, Luo Qingchen's income decreased. But because the income of Nika Milk Tea Shop was very good, Yang Lin gave her a corresponding salary every month and would also give her a bonus. In addition, her parents had restored her living expenses, so she still had a few thousand a month. Other than eating, drinking, and playing, she used her remaining pocket money to invest and save some. Ian was still working part-time, as usual. She heard that there was a girl who would buy a cup of milk tea every time he went to work and would peek at him from time to time. Yang Kwa gossiped and told her about this. He heard that the girl was also a student of Z University in the design department. I think Ian's horoscope must be liked by you, Lao. Yangqua put a cup of tofu milk tea in front of her and said, there are too many people who like him. He isn't with Jiang, that school beauty? Ever since she confirmed her relationship with Liu Yihong, she rarely contacted Yiyan. It wasn't intentional, but there really wasn't any need to contact him. Friends were like this. Once they were estranged, it was hard to return to the original state. Moreover, she wanted to stay away from Yiyan. This was the original owner's wish. Nope. Yangqua shrugged and said, that day, Jiang Wenwen came to our shop very late with a hangover. Brother and I were both shocked. She said that she tried so hard to get close to him, but she didn't even have a chance. So it's like this, crying like a pear blossom in the rain. Yangqua shook his head helplessly and said, what do you think is wrong with Yiyan? He doesn't know how lucky he is. If it was me, I would have already given the beauty a shoulder and then... Looking at Yangqua's self-indulgent expression, Luo Qingshun couldn't help knocking his head out of habit and said, be normal. But I think Yiyan still can't let go of Su Qiuji. For some people, it would become a lifelong pain. It wasn't something that could be forgotten just because one wanted to. Su Qiuji was too important to Yiyan. Even if she was dead, no one would be able to defend her position in his heart. Are you talking about his sick girlfriend? Yes. Yangqua sighed and said, but people have to move forward. That girl is no longer here. She can't always be like this. Save those words for him. Luo Qingshun looked at the time and said, I'm going to rest early today. I have something important to do tomorrow. What? Going on a date with Hang? Luo Qingshun thought for a moment, then chuckled and said, that's not that important, but you still have to get up early. Sunday. The sky was clear and the sun was shining brightly. At noon, after he was busy with the store, he hurriedly went home to change his clothes. A white tube top dress with exquisite lace accentuated her fair legs. They were long and straight, and her exquisite curves were completely outlined. Her hair was tied up in a bun, and with a crystal hairpin, she looked delicate and elegant. Her hair fell naturally, brushing past her ears. Chapter 35-37. Our daughter is so beautiful. Luo Mu came in and said, no wonder she received so many love letters from childhood to adulthood. That's Luo Fu's voice followed. Don't look at whose daughter it is. Luo Qingshun heard this and smiled helplessly. Are there two of you praising your children like this? If it weren't for my modesty and low-key heart, I would have become one of those rich ladies with princess disease. Your mother wants you to be that kind of person. Luo Fu pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and said, before you insisted on relying on Z University, your mother didn't sleep for a few nights. Once, she said to me, it's better to help you. How can this be done? It can't be done at all. Dad, Luo Qingshun turned her eyes slightly and said, don't worry. In the past, when I was young, there would always be times when I was insensible or impulsive. It won't happen in the future. Don't be good, Luo Mu said and choked. When she knew that her daughter would rather eat porridge and cabbage every day to borrow money, she was angry and distressed. Angry because she was so excellent, but she had to pay so much for a man who didn't love her. Distressed because she was her own daughter. If she didn't eat well, her mother was always the first to be soft-hearted. All right. Luo Qingshun took Luo Mu's hand and said with a chuckle, it's all over. Tonight, I'll be your little princess again, okay? Good. Today is the celebrity party held for the 15th anniversary of the establishment of Roche Group. Many people who come to attend are from the upper class. Luo Qingshun went down late, and there were already many people in the banquet hall. Miss, please put on the mask. She froze for a moment and looked at Luo Mu next to her. Luo Mu took the mask and carefully helped her put it on. This is the activity that the planning department came up with. You young people should like it. Who likes it? With a mask, it's inconvenient to eat and drink. This planning activity must have been thought up by the old people. Walking into the banquet hall, Luo Qingshun found that today, no matter men or women, old or young, everyone was wearing a mask. Why did the Luo Enterprises' 15th anniversary celebration turn out to be so fancy? In fact, your father intends to introduce a few good people to you today. Mother has not dared to tell you this. What? Luo Qing Chen knit her brows and said, "Why is it so boring? What era is this? Could it be that they still care about matching?" Luo Qing Chen is convinced. It was no wonder they had to wear masks when they came in. On the surface, it was the Luo Enterprises' 15th anniversary celebration. In fact, it was a disguised, large-scale, masked blind date party. "Oh my God, how tacky is this?" Luo Mu's mother hurriedly comforted. "Maybe in this way, it's better to choose a good man." Luo Mu hurriedly comforted her mother, comforted she hurriedly. "I don't want to choose anyone." Luo Qing Chun anxiously bit her lip and said, "Mom, I feel that I have to tell you something. I have a boyfriend." Luo Qing Chun did not hide it all. She said word by word, "And he is a very good person. Don't do such a boring thing." "What?" Luo Mu said in surprise. "Hey, I say, you're just a freshman and you are in love. You shouldn't be that Yi Yan." "Not him." Luo Qingchen's eyebrows moved slightly. "In short, he is a very, very good man." Chapter 35-38. Luo Mu still wanted to ask something, but Luo Fu had waved his hand and let her go. "Don't go around. Mom will ask you later." Luo Mu's face was heavy. Obviously, she took her daughter's words to heart. After all, it was normal for Luo Mu to worry about Yi Yan. Luo Qing Chun had a fearless smile as she said, "You could be assured, I'm here, waiting for the inspection." To be honest, she didn't particularly hate this occasion. Now it was a free society. As long as they didn't go for power or money, it was interesting to communicate with each other and talk to each other. However, once this kind of thing rose to a purposeful conversation, the meaning would become particularly vulgar. "Hello, everyone." Just as Luo Qingxin was going to walk around and buy something delicious, the lights in the banquet hall dimmed. The host said passionately on the stage, "Welcome to the 15th anniversary of Luo's group. This is a very romantic mask party. I hope everyone can enjoy it." In an instant, the music of the party sounded. Luo Qingchun hadn't responded yet. The young men and women around her went to the middle of the stage and began to dance. At the same time, Lu Yihong had just entered the banquet hall at this moment. Lu Yuan repeatedly exhorted, "The girls who come to the party are either rich or noble. You have to give Dad some face. Son, you have never let Dad down since you were a child." "Dad, it seems that I'm going to disappoint you this time." Lu Yihong put his hands in his pockets and said with a touch of pride, "I have a girlfriend." "Hey, you." Lu Yuan coughed twice and said, "Don't mess around. Dad told you. This is the daughter of Luo's group." Little did he know that before Lu Yuan finished speaking, Lu Yihong had already walked toward the corner. She took a glass of champagne, sat quietly, and glanced lazily at all the people in the banquet hall. Suddenly, it froze at a certain spot. The other party was wearing a fox mask and was sitting diagonally across from her. He rested his chin on his right hand and watched the performance on stage while drinking fruit juice. At this moment, Lu Yihong could feel his heart thumping, and a hint of surprise flashed across his deep eyes. He slowly stood up and was about to walk to the diagonal position when Lu Yuan appeared in front of him once again. "Son, don't go anywhere. Let me introduce you to Chairman Luo's daughter." Since Luo Sheng was beside his daughter, it was a great opportunity. "Luo, Dong's daughter?" Lu Yihong suddenly felt a little absent-minded. In this instant, his mind flashed with incomparably careless memories. But I have something to do on Zhou Tian. I might not be able to accompany you. It's okay. If you need me to pick you up, call me anytime." In the next second, he couldn't hide the joy on his face as he muttered to himself, "It can't be that coincidental, right? Son, I'm begging you. Just go with Dad." Lu Yuan's anxious face scrunched up as he said, "Even if it's just a formality, it's fine." You see, after Chairman Luo stood beside Luo's daughter, those people all went over to hit on him. Ahem. In an instant, Lu Yihong cleared his throat and said, "Do you think they will succeed?" Chapter 35-39. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Yihang picked up a champagne glass and walked towards Luo Qingchun. At this time, Luo Qingchun was surrounded by a large group of people, all of whom were introduced by his father and his son. Although she was wearing a mask, No one could see her emotions. But Lu Yihong could clearly feel that she must be very impatient. Son, you don't talk nonsense later. Lu Yuan saw that he was suddenly interested, but he was a little flustered. His son had his own ideas since he was young, and generally speaking, he would never compromise for anyone, including that he must go to Z University and so on. It was already an exception for him to attend this banquet with him. As a father, even if he wanted to force him, he couldn't do anything if he didn't agree. But suddenly, his son's enthusiasm made him unconsciously break out in a cold sweat. Dad, didn't you say that I'm outstanding? Lu Yihong's deep eyes flashed with a touch of arrogance and said, How long do you think it will take for me to deal with Luo family's daughter? This. Lu Yuan looked at him with a confused face and said, Son, you're serious. Lu Yihong's mouth curved into a charming arc and said, It really can't be more serious. In fact, Lu Yihong knew her very well. Although she nodded gently on the surface and seemed to have a smile, in fact, she was very anxious in her heart. This was not a masked ball to introduce them to each other. It was completely a large-scale social event. Just when she was very impatient and was about to find an excuse to leave, Lu Yuan came out with Lu Yihong. The light was slightly tipsy, shining on his face. Even with a mask, one could still feel his unique temperament. Luo Qingshun recognized Lu Yihong at a glance, just like Lu Yihong recognized her at a glance. But why was he here? But with a mask, he shouldn't be able to recognize her. Why did she always have a kind of flustered feeling that she couldn't explain? No, that's not right. Since she could recognize Lu Yihong at a glance, then Lu Yihong could definitely recognize her at a glance. In order to prevent the other party from denouncing her, she had to strike first. Hello, Mr. Luo. Long time no see. Lu Yuan was the first to speak. Stretching his hand out, Luo Shang smiled. Mr. Lu, you're a busy man. Let's get together often when you're free. Luo Shang was already used to such scenes. After all, he only had one precious daughter. In the future, all of the Luo family's assets would belong to her alone. Therefore, it was normal for outstanding young people to want to introduce themselves. However, she just heard from her mother that she had a boyfriend. As a father, he had always thought that his daughter was quite outstanding in all aspects, but her taste in men was very poor. Previously, there was Yin. Now that she had finally left Yin and had a boyfriend, she was really worried. That was why she was forced to attend the company's anniversary banquet. Everyone who was present today was very outstanding. However, his daughter was very stubborn. She was very proud of this kind of man who delivered himself to her door. Ahem. In the next second, Luo Qingshun immediately took the initiative and said, What a coincidence, Mr. Lu. Probably because she was a little anxious. The moment she opened her mouth, everyone's eyes were on her. Moreover, the two elders seemed to be quite surprised. The only one who wasn't surprised was probably Lu Yihong, who had a smile on his face under the mask. Chapter 3540. Yes, Campus Belle Luo, what a coincidence. Lu Yihong did not expose her. He looked at her eyebrows and eyes seriously and beamed with joy. This kind of sudden encounter was particularly exciting under certain circumstances. It was as if both parties had entered a brothel and met each other by chance. Surprise, excitement, shyness, excitement. You know each other? Lu Yuan froze for a moment, his tone filled with unconcealable joy. His son actually knew the daughter of the Luo family. No wonder he was so confident. After all, Lu Yihong's name is very famous in our Z University. Luo Qingshun's eyebrows moved slightly and smiled. Our campus belle Lu receives love letters from different girls every day. He's very popular. Lu Yihong's eyes lit up. 3 seconds later, he smiled and said, Qingshun is also very popular, so we're the same. It seems that it's fate. Luo Sheng smiled and said, She always refused to come to banquets in the past. I was wondering why she agreed this time. That's not the reason, okay? Of course, Luo Qingshun didn't say this out loud. She just kept it in her heart. Boss Lu, why don't we talk about the new industry and let the young people talk by themselves? Good. Lu Yuan's smile became more difficult to hide as he followed Luo Sheng to the side. After sending away the two worried fathers, there were only the two of them left. Perhaps it wasn't just the two of them, because there were also some men who came to introduce themselves. But when they saw that someone knew Luo Qingshun, they couldn't strike up a conversation or say anything. In fact, Lu Yihong didn't want to give them a chance. He didn't wait for Luo Qingshun to speak. He stretched out his hand and asked in a gentlemanly manner, "Can I ask Campus Belle Luo to dance?" Uft. Luo Qingshun couldn't help but chuckle and say, "Why do you still say that?" Now that the elders weren't here, Lu Yihong still wanted to tease her. Obviously, he was doing it on purpose. Then what should I call her? Lu Yihong's dark eyes glowed faintly as he asked, "My wife." "Hey." Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, "Many people are watching." "So?" Lu Yihong narrowed his eyes and said, "Do you have a new target?" "Of course not, all right." Luo Qingshun stomped her foot and said, "Who can compare to school hunk Lu's temperament and appearance?" "Wife, what's wrong?" "You're getting better at praising people." Of course, the conversation between the two of them stunned everyone around them. What's the situation? Wasn't it a fair competition? How could the competition have ended before it even started? Melodious music began to play, bringing with it a romantic atmosphere. She raised her right hand and placed it on his hot palm. He held it tightly and pulled her to his side. Luo Qingshun looked down and smiled. "I didn't expect Campus Belle Lu to have such a romantic side. Adapt to local conditions." Lu Yihong smiled and said, "We were both admitted to Z University. Guess what those two elders with the same name will say now?" Luo Qingshun rolled her eyes and said, "If they want to denounce you, you have to take responsibility." "Wife, won't you share my troubles?" In the next second, Luo Qingshun stood on her tiptoes and whispered to Lu Yihong, "You know, I have a criminal record. If I get locked up again, I'll be convicted of a felony." Lu Yihong suddenly understood and said, "That makes sense." Chapter 35:41. Who were Luo Sheng and Lu Yuan? Not long after they left, the two elders felt that something was wrong. They were wearing masks, so they shouldn't be recognized. Yeah, unless they are already familiar with each other. "I remember that when we came today, Yihong was still unwilling. Yes, yes, yes. I heard from my wife that our daughter said she had a boyfriend." This sentence, Yihong seems to have said something similar before. Could it be? An hour later, they were surrounded by two parents. Lu Yihong confessed everything and took all the responsibility on his own shoulders. Lu Yuan secretly gave him a thumbs up, which was seen by Luo Qingshun. It seemed that he wasn't blamed for taking all the responsibility. On the contrary, the parents looked at him with gratified eyes. Luo Qingshun glanced at Lu Yihong. Lu Yihong shrugged his shoulders innocently, as if to say, "I took the responsibility myself. I am very responsible." She felt that she had fallen into someone's trap. However, it was fine as long as the result was good, because this time they were a perfect match. Although both of them were still studying, their parents were inexplicably anxious. The engagement date had been set. On Saturday afternoon, Lu Yihong helped her get the dress for the engagement party, while Luo Qingshun waited for him in the tea shop. During this time, she happened to meet Yi Yin, who had just returned from delivering takeout. He seemed to have become a lot darker recently, but he was a little fatter than before. His eyebrows didn't look so melancholic. "I heard that you were getting engaged." Yi Yin's tone was light, just like before. "Yes." Luo Qingshun nodded and said, "Because I haven't graduated yet, so I got engaged first." The air was silent for a few seconds. Then Yi Yin nodded slightly and looked at her seriously. "You are happy." "I'm very happy." Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. The moment she turned her eyes, she happened to meet his deep eyes. His eyebrows were slightly knitted with indescribable emotions. "Yes, thank you." The next second, the wind chime at the door rang, and Lu Yihong walked in. The air was filled with the faint fragrance of cherry blossoms. It was probably the fragrance of the special cherry blossom dress. To be able to smell such a fragrance in the middle of winter, it's really special. At this moment, Yang poked his head out and said, You can come to our shop to drink cherry blossom milk tea and enjoy the beauty of April. Zazie, you've learned how to speak in sales recently. Luo Ching Chun took the dress and said, I'll try it on and see if it fits after the changes last time. All right. She walked up to the second floor, where Yang Hua was delivering milk tea. At this time, only Lu Yihong and Yi Yin were on the first floor. Actually, I heard what you said just now. Lu Yihong suddenly opened his mouth. His deep eyes flickered as he looked at Yi Yin and said, Is it no? Before Lu Yihong could ask, Yi Yin answered directly. He knew that he had answered too quickly and exposed his thoughts completely in front of Lu Yihong. Silence, silence, silence. A few seconds later, Lu Yihong gently patted Yi Yin's shoulder and said, She will be happy, happy forever. Yi Yin narrowed his eyes. After a long time, he said, Good. Perhaps in this world, except for Lu Yihong, no one could interpret Yi Yan's concise and comprehensive good in this life. But he seemed to hear the voice in his heart in this snowy winter. End. Chapter 3542. If it wasn't for the news I received, I would have hoped that my phone would always be on silent mode and that no one would look for me. It was good that I was alone. Yanni loved Su Qiuji with all my heart and all the strength in my life. And we had experienced the spring breeze, we had seen the summer solstice, but it was only in the long dark night that I felt the wind and clouds surging. Lonely thoughts were the most beautiful music for the rest of my life. Some things that I cared about, or even cared about, would be buried in my heart forever, never to be forgotten. Forever, forever. The first time I met her was in the school cafeteria. At that time, I had just shaved my head bald, because Qiuji was sick, a very serious illness, and needed chemotherapy to keep her alive. I felt deeply in love with her the moment I saw her. At that time, I prayed to God every day and night. How good would it be if I could use my life to exchange for Ji's life? When I met her, it was the most pathetic time in my life. I could never eat my fill and could never sleep my fill. My family background was not bad, but I was willing to do this for Ji, even being slandered and bullied by my classmates in school. But she cared for me foolishly. I would probably never forget that day. She slammed the table and stood up, shouting at those boys, "It's only a joke if others think it's funny." Yes, I didn't think it was funny at all. She was the only person in my life who stood in front of me to block the disaster for me. Before that, I had always moved forward bravely, and no one had ever blocked any disaster for me. She was the first and the last. When Ji was sick, she helped us without caring about anything. Even if she didn't eat well, she did her best to pay for Ji's medical bills. Humans were not plants. How could they be heartless? It would be a lie to say that I wasn't touched. I was touched, but it was useless. I couldn't give her anything in return for everything she had done. Not even a little. I couldn't give her anything, because my thoughts were all on Ji at that time. I hated God for being unfair. Ji was so good, but he didn't have a good ending. In the end, the cruel God still took her life. It was a night, a downpour of rain. When I arrived at the hospital, Ji had already closed her eyes forever. I didn't even get to see her for the last time before she left my life. Originally, I thought that after Ji's death, I would definitely lock myself up and remain autistic. Maybe even depression, maybe suicide. But as it turned out, I didn't for a relationship. I gave all my effort and sincerity. Although it wasn't beautiful at all, although it was heartbreaking, at least I had a beginning and an end. I owe her a lot of money. I know that the money was saved by her frugality. I know that in the end, she couldn't even bear to drink her favorite milk tea. After all, I owed her a lot. I shouldn't let her work so hard to earn money. At the very least, I should return all the money to her. Therefore, when I found out that she was working part-time at the milk tea shop during the school sports day, I decided to replace her. That was also the first time I saw Lu Yihong. Perhaps we had met in school before, but I would never stop looking at anyone. It wasn't that I was arrogant, but that they had never left a trace in my world. Chapter 3543. But I knew that Lu Yihong had left a mark in her heart. The way she looked at him was so familiar to me, as if this kind of focused gaze had appeared on me before. It seemed very close, but also very far. I suddenly forgot that she used to follow behind me all the time. Although she would talk to me occasionally now, It was different from before. Actually, this was good too. It was really good. It was just that there were times when he would feel sad in his heart. He would feel like he couldn't breathe and suffocate. And this feeling was especially strong. That day, it rained heavily. I called her and told her that I saw Ji. Actually, I knew that she had an appointment with Louis Hong that night. That was the only time in my life that I took the initiative to do a selfish thing. Yes, it was selfish. I knew that she would come. If it was just a normal day, she might not have come. But if I said that I saw Ji, then she would definitely come. At that time, I didn't know what kind of feelings I had. Complicated, surprised, panicked, scared. If she didn't die, why didn't she come to see me? Why did she leave me even though she knew that I couldn't let go? There were countless doubts in my heart, but at that time, I hoped that person would always be by my side. How selfish. I never thought that I was such a selfish person. When I saw that face that looked exactly like Ji's, I panicked a little, but more than that, I was angry. She wasn't Ji. Ji didn't smoke and wouldn't wear such heavy makeup. But her eyes and brows were so familiar. But she wasn't Su Chioji. She was Yuro. She said that she was her sister. Until she died, she never came to see her sister. After coming out of the hotel, it rained heavily and the rain hit my face. I didn't know what I wanted and what I wanted to do. But when I figured it out, that person was no longer by my side. Louis Hong's confession caused a sensation in the whole school. A talented man and a beautiful woman. They were a perfect match. I stood on the opposite side of the building and saw everything clearly. She was finally no longer my follower. Instead, there were treasures that others held in their hands. What kind of feeling was that? It couldn't be said that something had been snatched away, but there was an indescribable discomfort in the bottom of his heart. But I wish her well. I wish her well from the bottom of my heart. In this world, the person I want to be happy the most is her. No matter who brings her happiness, as long as she is happy, I will feel at ease. Perhaps it was because he owed her. He owed her too much. Actually, when I thought about it later, I realized that I owed a lot of people. Jiang Wenwen was probably one of them. That day at the Vietnamese restaurant, I knew she and Louis Hong would be there, but I still took Jiang Wenwen with me. As for the reason, perhaps only I knew in my heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. Early the next morning, I went to Jiang Wenwen and told her everything. It was as if I had played the role of a heartless man. I still can't forget Mr. Ji. She was crying very sadly. She was such a beautiful woman when she cried, but I didn't know how to comfort her. I think my destiny is probably to be alone for the rest of my life. Some people appeared in my life, but I missed them. Some people have been here before, but before I left, she had already left. The world is so big, but loneliness is like an endless darkness that shrouds me and swallows me. Chapter 3544. As you know, when love runs deep, cherry blossoms bloom with just one more glance. Lu Yihong, it was the most beautiful time we met, but it was also the most embarrassing time in her life. That day, it rained heavily. I was buying drinks at the convenience store, and she was standing in front of the convenience store as if she was hiding from the rain. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. I never cared about the scenery along the way, but she appeared in front of me like a block of stone. Now that I think about it, the corner of my mouth unconsciously raised into a smile. "Miss, can you move aside?" "Wait, I'm looking at something." "I mean, you're blocking me." "I'm sorry, I was thinking about something and didn't notice." Next time, don't stand in front of the convenience store and think about unimportant things. It's important. I'm thinking about when the drunk driver will get into an accident. Drunk driver? What do you mean, bang? She was like a prophet, making my heart that had always been as calm as water ripple. This feeling even made me feel suffocated. I remembered her appearance, remembered her name. She was the first person in my life who could make me panic. The first time, I had such a wonderful feeling. It was very rare and exciting. But once there was too much excitement, the feeling was no longer excitement, but self-abuse. When facing her, I found that I had a serious tendency to self-abuse. I cared a lot about her, especially the things between her and Yi Yin. It made me unhappy. From what I heard, they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but she liked him one-sidedly. But from what I saw, Yi Yan's eyes weren't as simple as he said. Those eyes full of complicated emotions. as if they were forcefully suppressing some kind of emotion in the bottom of their hearts, not letting others notice. And I was still thinking about how to get close to her. After all, I couldn't be too deliberate, but I could still get involved with her. Suddenly, I remembered that I still had a cousin in my life who was the recognized beauty of Z University. Could I make use of her? Of course, when I told my cousin about this, she angrily refused and said that she wanted to leave her rumored boyfriend to her Adonis. At that time, I didn't know who her boyfriend was. I only found out a few years later. However, he was still subdued by my coaxing and pestering. Actually, to be exact, it had nothing to do with coaxing and pestering. It was just that Jiang Wenwen suddenly realized that she could splash me with milk tea and felt very happy. That was how the plan started. After I was splashed with milk tea, I came back to settle the score with her. I knew that she would choose to compromise for the sake of the big picture, so I could start my dating journey. Let her accompany me to buy clothes. Actually, I have no experience in dating at all. I don't even know how to get along with girls. But I was sure that if I had her by my side, I would have a chance. At the very least, he had a better chance than Yi Yin. I heard that he has to work every day. How can he have time to take care of her? But what I didn't expect was that there really was a bit of fate between the two of them. After buying the clothes and coming back, we actually met again. He was like a knight who cleaned up a mess, taking her place at the milk tea stall. As for me, I was more like a nuisance to her. Chapter 35:45. Actually, I don't know when I fell in love with her. The first time I met her, I was amazed, and then I gradually got to know her better. Compared to admiring her excellence, I was more distressed by her stupidity. She was so stubborn about a sacrifice that had no return at all. Sometimes, when he looked in her clear eyes, he could almost imagine the tears in her eyes when she was blindly giving her all. Bad taste? No, maybe it should be stupid. I knew she opened a small shop on the internet, specializing in writing love letters. I had received similar love letters before, but I didn't care too much at the time. I wasn't the kind of person who would throw love letters in the trash. I just put them all in a box. Although the letters inside wouldn't be opened a second time, at least I didn't ruin the other person's heart. I also heard from others that she wrote love letters for other people. Then I completely slapped my own face and opened all the letters for the second time. I really found letters with the same handwriting and tone. At the time, I asked my good friend's family to help me order and let her willingly write love letters to me. 1 letter a day for a whole week. That feeling was really wonderful, as if there was something in my heart every day. But she was really cold. She went to the milk tea shop very diligently. She met Ian very diligently, but she didn't talk to me even once. In anger, not only did I stop writing love letters to myself, I also told other people not to write love letters to me. Sure enough, she quickly came to find me. Although I knew in my heart that it was because I affected her business, I was still very happy. But when I excitedly ran to Nika, Yonquist said she wanted to find Yin. Thunder rumbled in the sky. It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck my heart. At that time, I stood in place and thought for a long time whether to go back and meet another day or find her today. In the end, I chose the latter. That's right. Since I decided to give it a shot, why should I wait? Why should I hesitate? When I watched her cross the road, Yin loudly scolded. At that moment, I was afraid she would jump into his arms and cry, and I didn't even have the chance to give her shoulder. Fortunately, she didn't. Her expression seemed to be a little awkward, and she was not as happy as he had imagined. I followed her all the way until she got out of the car, until she found me, until she personally told me that she didn't like Yi Yin, until I fell into her arms. Yes, it was me who fell into her arms. A few years later, she would often tease me about it, saying that my constitution was too weak and I needed to strengthen my body. She clearly didn't know how long I was in the rain that night. After that, the only thing left in the story was happiness. I declared my love for her, declared my sovereignty to everyone, and planned to take her home to meet my parents. However, there was a small interlude, which was that we attended the same dinner party. Life was such a wonderful thing. At certain moments, when you thought it was going to be difficult, what awaited you was actually a pleasant surprise. As for Yi Yin, I think he cares about it. However, in this lifetime, he could not say what he cared about. because that was the love thread that he had severed with his own hands, and he could never turn back. Ding, congratulations on bringing a soul fragment into the lead god space, 54 of 100. Chapter 35-46. What happened next? After Luo Qingxun and Lu Yihong got engaged, Lu Yihong's popularity in school dropped rapidly. Although the school hunk was still the school hunk, the number of people who wrote him love letters was getting fewer and fewer. After all, only single handsome guys could get the adoration of little fangirls. This kind of person who already had a family would be greatly reduced in popularity. However, Lu Yihong didn't seem to care too much. Instead, he felt more relaxed because this way, he could openly show off his love. And Z University's new male god turned out to be Yi Yin, who grew his hair out. He used to like wearing dark clothes, but for some reason, he started to wear white shirts more often recently. What was even more exaggerated was that the girls in school called him an aesthetic beauty. But only Luo Qingxun knew, because there was already an impossible person living in his heart. However, they would still run into each other in Nika. Yin still liked to be alone and didn't have a girlfriend until graduation. The professor appreciated his talent and asked him to stay for the postgraduate entrance exam. He thought about it and agreed. The next day, the number of people taking the entrance exam at Z University doubled. Luo Qingxun didn't plan to study because after graduation, the two families couldn't wait to force her to marry Lu Yihong. No, to be precise, she was the only one who was forced because Lu Yihong was on the two old people's side. But what she didn't expect was that less than a week after her wedding, Yi Yin had a girlfriend. A very, very, very ordinary girl. She wasn't good-looking, but she wasn't ugly either. She was a girl from Z University's technical school. Although Luo Qingxun didn't know why Yi Yin would find a girlfriend after being single for so many years, she knew that the moment he decided to hold her hand, it meant that he wouldn't let go. But she still thought too much. Yi Yin's relationship lasted less than a month before the girl was forced to break up with him under pressure. Although she didn't know when Yi Yin would be happy at that time, she thought that he would definitely be happy. Welcome back. The plane was very smooth, a long, long, long love. Slowly white hair, slowly leaving this world. The following is a summary of the data of this mission. Please read carefully. Name: Luo Qingxun Plain Space. Crush on Little Shop. Classmate: do you need me to write a love letter for you? Mission completion rate: 100% EXP. 5,500/10,000 currently. There are 5 items in the portable space. 4/5 exquisite ring. 9-section moon whip. Phoenix dance sword. Universal medicine box. Permanent ability: Space-time freeze level 6 permanent ability. Teleport LV5 permanent ability. Telekinesis level 2 exchange points. 4, 500 base points. 40, obtained a special ability bestowed by the Lord God, one time. Can be used in any plane. The host's 53rd mission panel is below. Appearance: 60 out of 100 stamina, 90 out of 100 intelligence, 90 out of 100 figure, 80 out of 100 in the next second. The image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission rank: SS. Experience gained: 500. Female lead. Luo Qingxun male lead. Jian Yuyin supporting female lead. Mu Ning supporting male lead. Song Shaoling: I really don't agree to your 60. Luo Qingxun knit her brows and said, why is it only 60? If the host is satisfied, you can choose to use the base points to change the panel. Change the base points. Luo Qingxun thought for a bit before saying, then I'll exchange it all. What is it? I can't. The system just feels that the host can use it in batches. It's fine. I'm a proud person, so I'll take 100. Ding. 40 base points have been taken. Appearance: 100 out of 100. Mission content: 1. Protect yourself and your family from harm. 2. Find true love. The memory has been released. Please check it, host. Chapter 35-47. In the life of the previous host, she couldn't escape the word love. She also paid the price of her life for this word love. The previous host was born in an ordinary family. She had never seen her biological parents. She heard from her aunt that her mother had passed away when she was very young, only leaving behind a green jade pendant. The pattern on it was very strange, but the jade pendant was very cool. The previous host was reluctant to wear it. Her aunt was very good to the previous host. Although the family was poor, she didn't let the previous host suffer. Until the previous host was 14 years old. The previous host's aunt's child had a strange illness. He would often talk nonsense at night, and his limbs would tremble. During the day, he would return to normal. But the younger brother's body became worse and worse. He was so thin that he was only skin and bones. The younger brother was only 6 years old. He was still a child and hadn't seen the world. He couldn't leave like this. The previous host went around looking for doctors and found a job to support the family. But the road was long and no one could cure her younger brother's illness. In the end, she heard that there was an expert with great medical skills on Yueqing Mountain. The previous host decided to visit him personally. At that time, the previous host was working as a page for a young master in a rich family. That young master was none other than the supporting male lead in this sad story, Song Xiaoling. Song Xiaoling was the most handsome man in Ning City. No matter which family's young ladies liked him. Every time they passed by the academy, they couldn't help but look at him. But at that time, the previous host's mind was filled with how to cure her younger brother. Every day, she followed Song Xiaoling as a page. Song Xiaoling had been doted on since he was young. He lived a life of luxury and had never suffered. Everyone liked him, worshipped him, and envied him. But suddenly, a person came into his life. She had no interest in him. When Song Xiaoling was choosing a page for Song Xiaoling, everyone's eyes were on Song Xiaoling's self-portrait. Only the previous host's eyes were on Song Xiaoling's poem. Song Xiaoling felt that although the previous host wasn't educated, she didn't pay attention to Song Xiaoling. He felt that she was very suitable and hired her as a page. After the original owner became Song Xiaoling's follower, her life was quite good. Although she often attracted jealous gazes, Song Xiaoling was very good to her. Not only did he teach her to read, but he also helped her find a famous doctor in the nearby town to treat her brother. It was a pity that her younger brother had a strange illness that none of the common folk doctors could treat. The original owner was worried all day long. Finally, after her brother was unconscious for a day, she told Song Xiaoling her thoughts. "Young master, I want to look for Miracle Doctor by Mo. I heard that she's at Yueqing Mountain, but that's a secluded place. It might not be that easy to find her. No matter what, I have to make a final effort." "All right, I'll go with you." Rumor had it that Yueqing Mountain was located in the southernmost part of the Tomb City. It was a desolate place with few people around. It was said that the souls of those who died in agony in the mortal world could not be reincarnated and would wander around Tomb City. Although the original owner was afraid, she had courage for her brother. After all, Song Xiaoling was still by her side. She couldn't be afraid. Along the way, many strange things happened, but they all passed through without any mishaps. In the process, Song Xiaoling was injured, but he still protected the original owner. He said that he could feel a kind of persistence from her, a kind of persistence that he had never felt before. Chapter 3548. But how could Yueqing Mountain be found so easily? The previous host and Song Xiaoling were trapped in Tomb City for 10 days before they finally fainted in the temple. When they woke up, the two of them were in a place that looked like a paradise. She excitedly looked at the two girls wearing light pink clothes in front of her and said, "Is this Yueqing Mountain? May I ask if Miracle Doctor by Mo is here?" "Miss, don't be so excited. The Miracle Doctor is currently treating that youth's injuries." The pink dress girl said, "Miss, please rest for a bit. The Miracle Doctor will be here soon." The previous host waited until the next morning before the Miracle Doctor appeared. Behind him stood a sparkling Song Xiaoling. "I already know why you're here." Bai Mo was wearing a moon-white embroidered dress with a pearl hairpin on her head. She looked like a fairy. "Miracle Doctor, I beg you to save my little brother. He is only 6 years old." "Yes, but I have a condition." "What condition?" "I need one of you to take a flower stained with the other person's blood and completely forget the person in front of you." At the time, the previous host did not know why Bai Mo would make such a request. After all, she and Song Xiaoling only had a master and servant relationship. Although she secretly admired that youth in her heart, she knew that if their identities did not match, there would never be a good ending. But in by Mo's heart, they were a pair that liked each other. But no one who's walked out of here has ever had a lover. Bai Mo looked at them. Although this place is called Yu Qing Mountain, some people call it the Passionless Valley. The pink fangirl brought out a light white flower into a honey soup. The previous host hesitated for 3 seconds before saying, "All right, I'll drink. Let me do it." Song Xiaoling took the honey soup and drank it all, whether I like you or not. It doesn't make any difference to me. In fact, he liked her more than anyone else. But he was about to marry a wife. He had never told her about this matter because he was afraid that if he told her, she would leave him. He couldn't bear to leave her. He even selfishly thought that if he got married, she would still be by his side. But he didn't know what kind of status to give her. Concubine? He felt that this was wronging her. How good would it be if she could always be his errand girl? But he knew that she was going to get married. She had his whole life. Then, it would be better to forget like this, young master. Before the original owner could stop him, Song Xiaoling had already finished the honey soup in one gulp. At this point, the original owner of the body had successfully obtained the antidote for her brother from miracle doctor Bai Mo. However, that youth who was like a spring breeze no longer remembered her. "Who are you?" "I am the young master's errand boy." "Errand boy?" After returning home, old Master Song was furious and chased the original owner out of the house. She had thought that they would never cross paths again, but a natural disaster had brought them together again. Floods wreaked havoc and the riverbanks collapsed. The entire Peace City was flooded. At that time, no matter if they were male or female, young or old, poor or rich, everyone's life would be equal. At the critical moment, the original owner saved Song Xiaoling. She heard that he was about to get married and that he loved his fiancée very much. His fiancée was the daughter of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights in the capital. She was born with a beautiful face that could captivate even birds and beasts. Compared to her who had been exposed to the elements since she was young, she was naturally much more beautiful. Actually, it wasn't that the original owner wasn't beautiful. It was just that her rough skin and dark face didn't seem as charming. But that pair of clear eyes was so moving and beautiful. Chapter 35-49. After the previous host saved Song Xiaoling, he was grateful, but he couldn't feel happy. It seemed that he was the only one who escaped from the Song family. The others all died in the flood. Since then, Song Xiaoling seemed to have changed into a different person. He became more cautious and sly. He asked someone to send the news that he was still alive to the capital. As expected, the daughter of the Minister of Rights, Mu Ning, immediately sent someone to pick him up. Ning City is about to become a pile of ruins. "Do you want to go to the capital with me?" Go to the capital? Ning City was too big for her, let alone the capital. She didn't want to go. Maybe it was because she didn't want to see Mu Ning, or maybe it was because she was afraid of losing her way in a big place like the capital. But she had her aunt and brother. She had to go. If she stayed in Ning City now, she would be waiting for death. "Okay, I'll go with you." The original owner entered the capital with Song Xiaoling as a page boy. The capital was very big, and everyone was well dressed. Everyone looked full of vitality. She was very envious, but she knew that with her identity, these things couldn't be envied. Mu Manor was very big. Not only did Mu Ning let Song Xiaoling stay, she also let the previous host, her aunt, and brother stay. Song Xiaoling was very grateful. He felt that meeting Mu Ning was the luckiest thing in his life. But the truth was that Mu Ning looked like a docile sheep. In fact, she was a wolf in sheep's clothing. No, maybe wolf wasn't the right word. She was a monster. She was polite to the previous host on the surface and even called her little sister. But in reality, she wanted her to die. Because when Master Song arranged for her to be engaged to Song Xiaoling refused at first. She thought it was because Song Xiaoling had never seen her before. She even traveled to Ning City to visit him. But she didn't know that Song Xiaoling didn't even see her and directly left the Song Manor. This made Mu Ning, who had always been a little twisted, lose face. After asking, she found out that her servant also disappeared with her. The Song family's rumors were flying everywhere. Some people said that the servant kidnapped Song Xiaoling. Others said that Song Xiaoling eloped with the servant. There were many rumors, but they all had one thing in common. That is, Song Xiaoling and the original owner eloped. Master Song was furious, but Mu Ninger didn't seem angry at all. He wasn't angry not because he wasn't angry, but because he already had a plan in mind. As long as Song Xiaoling and that woman dared to come back, she would definitely return the harm and humiliation she suffered tenfold. Yes, Mu Ninger was just that black-bellied. However, although Song Xiaoling came back, Master Song immediately drove his daughter away. At that time, Mu Ninger was attending the Crown Prince's birthday with her father, so she couldn't go to Peace City. After the matters in the capital city were settled, she was about to head to Peace City when she heard that there was a flood in Peace City. The good news was that the Song family was all dead, and Song Xiaoling survived. The bad news was that the errand boy who was rumored to have eloped with Song Xiaoling also survived and followed her to the capital. Actually, this wasn't bad news for Mu Ninger, because she didn't get to take her revenge back then. The heavens took a detour and gave her a chance to take revenge. Every dog has its day. Chapter 3550. Mu Ning was a very smart person. She wasn't completely evil, nor was she a little white flower that only knew how to cry. Books if Luo Qingshun had to rank them, then Mu Ning was the smartest villain she had ever met in all the world she had been to. Why was she smart? Because she was very good to the original host, whether she was in front of Song Xiaoling or not. She never let her stay in the servants' rooms. She even let the original host's younger brother study in a private school, and let the idle maids take care of the original host's concubines. Song Xiaoling wasn't the only one who saw all of this. Even the original host was deeply grateful. At first, Song Xiaoling was a bit cold to Mu Ning, but as he gradually got to know her better and saw her character in real life, his view of her gradually changed. Mu Ning was born beautiful with a pair of charming peach blossom eyes. In Song Xiaoling's eyes, she was different from the other rich young ladies. Not only was she proficient in the four arts, she was also very kind. There would always be stray cats and dogs passing by Mu Clan, and she would take good care of them. Every single time, she would do it herself. She would never ask her servants to do it for her. If the first time was a coincidence, then the second, third, fourth time was enough to see Mu Ning's character. Once, it was raining heavily. Mu Ning ran out of her room barefoot in order to put the stray cats in the room and prevent them from getting sick. This scene appeared in front of Song Xiaoling again and again, making him have a good impression of Mu Ninger. Even when he asked the original host how Mu Ning was, the original host was full of praise. In the original host's heart, good was good, bad was bad. Although she had feelings for Song Xiaoling, she never spoke against her heart. Song Xiaoling knew that Master Mu valued him and wanted him to marry Mu Ninger. Naturally, she was a good woman, so why shouldn't he try? After all, it was impossible between him and the original host. But what he didn't know was that every scene he saw was personally planned by Mu Ning. She let the original host's younger brother study in a private school, but always secretly sent people to bully him. Because of this, the original host's younger brother didn't attend many classes and was always sitting in a corner covered in injuries. She had the servant girl take care of the original owner's concubine, but in reality, it was convenient to put slow poison in the food. Usually, she was very good to everyone, so even if her concubine was unwell, no one would suspect her. Moreover, she was careful with every step, so the poison she used was naturally not the kind that could be detected. At that time, because of the original owner, she was humiliated. She had to pay it all back bit by bit. Mu Ning was very clever. She gave the host little by little clues and let her discover her thoughts. She wanted the original owner to talk about her in front of Song Xiaoling, but Song Xiaoling felt that the original owner was doing it on purpose because he agreed to marry Mu Ninger. In this way, not only did the original owner fail to expose Mu Ninger's true colors, she even made Song Xiaoling feel like she was a jealous woman. It was at this moment that Mu Ning dealt a fatal blow to the original host. On the eve of her wedding with Song Xiaoling, she specially mentioned Mu Ning's son to Song Xiaoling and asked him to meet her in the back garden. In fact, the real time she made the appointment with the original host was 1:15 midnight. She had prepared all the witnesses. Then, she pretended to be pushed into the lake by the original host. The moment she fell into the water, the servant girl in the mansion screamed when she saw it. This book came from this book, came from this book, came from. Chapter 35:51. At this point, all of Mu Ning-er's plans had succeeded. In the Tsing Book Mobile terminal, her little brother had fallen seriously ill a few years ago. Although he was saved by miracle doctor by Mo, his body was still weak. Adding on the fact that he had been abused for a long time. After vomiting blood, he was powerless. Concubine's food had been poisoned for a long time, causing her body to deteriorate day by day. Even if she stopped eating, she wouldn't live for long. The previous host, because she pushed the daughter of the Ministry of Rights into the water, she was directly sent to the Supreme Court for interrogation. Mu Chun, the daughter of the Ministry of Rights, naturally wouldn't let the previous host go. In the Supreme Court, no matter how the previous host tried to explain herself, she was still heavily punished day and night. Song Shaoling had come to see her once, asking her to confess so she wouldn't suffer so much. She cried out with a face full of tears, "It wasn't me, young master, it really wasn't me. Believe me. I beg you to believe me." Song Shaoling looked away and angrily rebuked her. "How could it not be you? When Ning-er told me she was going to see you, I was very worried. I didn't think something would really happen. I should have gone with her. You know, she doesn't know how to swim. She almost drowned when she fell into a pool when she was young. She didn't know why, but when the previous host heard this, she didn't feel wronged anymore. There was only one emotion left in her heart, and that was hatred. Hatred filled her heart. Why? Why didn't Song Shaoling believe her? They had clearly experienced so much together. They had clearly gone through life and death together. So how could he be so cruel to her? He. She coldly laughed a few times. Her eyes were bloodshot as she said, "Even if I die, even if I turn into a ghost, I won't let you go. If you have any problems, come at me. Don't hurt Ning-er." But before Song Shaoling's voice fell, the previous host had already committed suicide by biting her tongue. Not long after, the previous host's little brother and concubine died one after another. Song Shaoling happily married Mu Ning-er. The two of them stuck together like glue, becoming a beautiful story. This was the life of the previous host. Luo Qingchun returned to the previous host 3 months after she entered the Mu family. This time, it really wasn't a good time. But now that she thought about it, if Mu Ning didn't already have a plan in mind, she wouldn't be as happy to take revenge. Only with high risks could one obtain high returns. This was an eternal truth. The first thing Luo Qingchun did after receiving the memories was to pick up the cinnabar from the table in the room. Her face was as white as snow, and she covered it with a veil. This was a 100% appearance panel, a treatment only available in special planes. Her current situation was not suitable for her to be exposed to the sun. After all, Mu Ning was a smart person. It would take some effort to deal with her. The first thing to do now was to go to the concubine's room and check on her health. Fortunately, it was only 3 months. Mu Ning-er had used a special poison to hide her illness from others. It wasn't that strong. It had taken her more than a year to make her terminally ill. Logically speaking, they should be able to make it in time. However, just as she walked out of her room, she met an uninvited guest. Miss Luo. Luo Qingchun came back to her senses and looked at the maid in front of her. She narrowed her eyes slightly, feeling that she was inexplicably familiar. Isn't this Mu Ning-er's personal maid, Taozi? This person had done a lot of bad things for Mu Ning. Now that she came to find her, she must be up to some tricks. This book came from Book of Taste. This book came from. Chapter 35:52. Isn't this Miss Peach? Luo Qingchun's face was indifferent. She smiled faintly and said, "What's the matter? Miss, my mistress is going to the market today to buy some rouge, face powder, and silks." "What?" Peach raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, "I want to ask you to go with me." "But what's wrong with your face?" Luo Qingchun suddenly thought of this matter. This market was said to be a shopping trip, but in fact, it was a clever plan. She made the original Mu Ning-er take the blame for being a thief, and then Mu Ning-er kindly helped her out. On the one hand, she wanted to embarrass the original Mu Ning-er. On the other hand, she wanted the original Mu Ning, to make a fool of herself in front of Song Xiaoling. Her plan was very thorough. At that time, the original Mu Ning didn't even care about it. I don't know why I suddenly have a rash on my face. I'm going to go out and find a doctor. Luo Qingchun deliberately winked as she said, Tao Zi, I feel uncomfortable with this itch. Wouldn't be smallpox, right? The next second, Peach's face turned pale. She unconsciously took 2 steps back. This was not a joke. If it infected her, she would be very unlucky. You cough. Peach cleared her throat and said, Then you'd better not go with Miss in case. But I don't think Miss Mu is such a person. Luo Qingchun raised her eyebrows slightly and said, In my eyes, Miss Mu is very good. I often see her helping the poor. If you don't even ask, isn't it a waste of Miss Mu's kindness? Peach was speechless. Her mistress didn't take her to the market out of kindness. She didn't mean to do it. Miss Mu always said she was stupid. Now it seemed that she was really stupid. Then Miss Luo can wait here for a while. Peach said, I'll go and report to my mistress. No need. Luo Qingchun's clear eyes blinked slightly. She smiled and said, We can go together. Together. Peach's mouth twitched. Although she was very unwilling, she could only say, All right. Peach walked very quickly. She was afraid that Luo Qingchun's rash would infect her. When she arrived at the mansion study, she happened to meet Mu Ning, and Song Xiaoling. Mua was talking to him about taking her to the market. You're so good to Qingchun. Song Xiaoling showed a faint smile. She rarely goes out. She yearned for the prosperity here before coming to the capital. The original Mu yearned for the prosperity here? Are you kidding me? She probably never liked this place. If it weren't for the fact that Ning City was gone, she would rather stay in that simple place and live as a free wild bird. Mu Ning smiled and said, How could that be? I was afraid that little sister Qingchun would be too bored in the manor, so I wanted her to stay with me. Cuckoo. Luo Qingchun cleared her throat and said, I also feel that young Miss Mu is a good person. At this moment, Mu Ning and Song Xiaoling's eyes fell on Luo Qingchun at the same time. Peach glanced at Mu Ning from time to time and gently shook her head. Mu Ning seemed to understand. She looked at Luo Qingchun and said, Sister Qingchun, what's wrong with your face? She didn't step back. Instead, she took a step forward and showed a caring expression. Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes. This was Mu Ning's strength. Even with Peach's glances, she still acted well. Book. Chapter 35:53. I don't know what's wrong, but there are a lot of red spots. It's very uncomfortable. Ding Shu. Luo Qingchun scratched it lightly. It's itchy. Song Xiaoling revealed a concerned expression. At that time, he still considered Luo Qingchun family and was very concerned about her. Mu Ning was displeased to see him like this. Jealousy twisted her heart, but she remained calm on the surface. No one could tell what she was feeling. I'll take you to see a doctor. Song Xiaoling looked at her. Miss Mu, do you know where the capital's medical center is? Master Song, I'm more familiar with the capital. Let me take Sister Qingchun. Mu Ning slowly reached out and gently grabbed his wrist. Sister Qingchun, come with me. Miss, you can't. Taozi hastily stopped her. Miss, your body is precious. Let me take Miss Luo. Everyone is equal. There's no such thing as a precious body. Mu Ning smiled. Don't say any more. Let me take Sister Qingchun. It had to be said that Mu Ning was more powerful than she thought. Although her heart was undeniably twisted, no one could see it on her face. Then I'll have to trouble you, Miss Mu. We'll talk about this later. All right, please wait a moment. The capital's market was very lively. There was an endless stream of horses and carriages. From time to time, the sound of hawkers shouting could be heard. Mu Ning didn't take her to a large medical center. Instead, she took her to a place in the north called He Family's Medical Center. There weren't many patients coming in and out. As soon as they entered, Luo Qingchun felt a gloomy aura. Don't worry, Sister Qingchun. The doctors here are very good. When I was young, I always went here to see if I was unwell. Mu Ning raised an eyebrow and looked in a certain direction. Luo Qingchun looked in that direction. It was a middle-aged man in plain clothes. "This is Dr. Chun." Mu Ning, introduced. "He's the most famous doctor in this medical center." "Miss, were you unwell?" Chun Sheng glanced at Mu Ning, and understood. "Come, I'll take a look first." Mu Ning, servant, Taozi, spoke up. "Nyang Nyang, if we delay any longer, we won't even have a chance to see the clothes sent by Brocade Workshop today." Audacious. Mu Ning, pretended to be aloof as she said, "Little sister Qing Chan is sick. Do you think I'm in the mood?" "But Miss Mu, please," Chun Sheng said as he took her pulse. "This lady's condition is rather complicated. It will probably take a while. You can come back to pick her up later." Taozi heard that Luo Qing Chen's condition was complicated, so she took 2 steps back in disgust. After all, if it really was smallpox, she really could be infected. Mu Ning-er's brows furrowed slightly as she nodded. "All right. T's sister is, of course." Luo Qing Chun narrowed her cold eyes and said with a smile, "You don't know how serious my illness is. This medical center, this doctor called Chun Sheng, and Mu Ning must be related." She could even guess what they wanted to do. "Miss, don't worry. Although your illness is complicated, as long as you meet me, Chun Sheng, I can cure you." This book came from Book of Books. This book came from Chapter 3554. "All right, little sister Qing Chun, I'll come pick you up in a moment." Mu Ning turned and left the pharmacy. Li Sheng pretended to write down the prescription. Luo Qingchun glanced at him and found that his hands were trembling. Luo Qingchun couldn't help but find it funny. After all, she knew better than anyone whether she was sick or not. "Dr. Li, have you already written a prescription for me?" Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "Based on your appearance, my condition is quite fierce." Yes. Li Xing nodded anxiously. "Miss, you need to recuperate in my clinic for 10 days to half a month." "Miss, don't worry. Miss, you were brought here by Miss Mu, so I will take good care of you." Luo Qingchun felt that the "take good care of" should be put in quotation marks. An hour later, Li Sheng brought the decocted medicine. "Come, miss, drink it while it's hot." Li Sheng seemed nervous, and his expression was not very natural. It seemed that he was not very skilled in this kind of thing. "Actually, I have some medical skills." Luo Qingchun's brows moved slightly. "How about Dr. Li show me the prescription?" "You have medical skills?" Li Sheng froze, his face pale. "No, impossible. How could a servant of Mu Manor have medical skills?" The next second, Li Sheng said in a low voice, "I'll show you, but I don't think you'll understand." Luo Qingchun took the prescription and looked at it. It was indeed very unusual. These medicines were fine when used alone, but when put together, they would produce a chronic toxin. However, this chronic toxin would take years to kill people. Drinking it for a few days would at most cause discomfort, but it would not cause too much harm. Why did Mu Ning do this? "Dr. Chun, there's so many people coming and going every day. Are you the only one in charge?" Chun Sheng suddenly froze. He didn't expect Luo Qingchun to ask such a question. He cleared his throat and said, "I also hired an old man to occasionally grab some medicine for me." "Oh." Luo Qingchun raised her eyebrows and said, "Under normal circumstances, isn't it Xiao Tong who gets the medicine? Dr. Chun is special. He hired an old man. I have my own habits. Miss, please drink the medicine and go upstairs to rest." Chun Sheng didn't want to say more because he had a feeling that he would expose something if he continued. However, what he didn't know was that Luo Qingchun had already seen through his thoughts. She picked up the bowl of medicine in her hand and drank it in front of Chun Sheng. "Then I'll go upstairs to rest. If Miss Mu comes later, the doctor can tell her. Don't worry, Mississippi. This is what I should do." In a room on the 2nd floor, Luo Qingchun asked for a pot of jasmine tea to clear the remaining toxins in her body. Mu Ning didn't want to kill her. She just wanted her to feel uncomfortable. From the arrangement of the medicine in this medical hall, it could be seen that it was originally a proper medical hall, but for some reason, it fell into Chun Sheng's hands. And this Chun Sheng should be someone Mu Ning deliberately placed here. Since she was so good at poisoning the original owner's concubine, it proved that she had done this kind of poisoning many times. This place should be the source of her poison. No wonder she put a person here. If you grab too many strange medicines, it will inevitably make people suspicious. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 3555. Luo Qingshun spent 2 hours investigating the pharmacy. Aside from Chun Sheng, there were 3 other people. One of them was the old man that Chun Sheng had mentioned. She observed that the old man listened to their arrangements and wiped the sweat from his forehead from time to time. If she guessed correctly, this old man should be the original owner of this pharmacy. Mu Ning used some method to forcibly take over this pharmacy. Normally, this old man would be the one treating the patients, but today was different. System, I want to exchange for 3 poison pills. Host's heart has become so ruthless. If a person wasn't ruthless, they wouldn't be able to stand firm. The original owner of this world didn't have any golden fingers, so she could only use a little trick. But the most important thing was, where was the male lead? According to the original owner's memories, the person called Jian Yuheng had never appeared. She didn't even know what he looked like. She was already so weak. What if the male lead was even weaker? Then wouldn't she have to protect the male lead? So, no matter what, she had to establish her own power in this limited time. After all, this was the ancient era. Power was everything. Luo Qingshun thought for about 3 seconds before a faint smile appeared on her face. Host, have you thought of a way? 2 hours later, Luo Qingshun took advantage of Chun Sheng's inattention to find the old man from before. At first, he was too afraid to say anything. It wasn't until she told him that she had a way to help him that he began to speak. Miss, you don't know. This one is He Yao, the founder of this He family's pharmacy. A year ago, a group of people suddenly came and kidnapped my wife and children. They forcibly took over my pharmacy. Then why didn't you report it to the authorities? She only saw him sneer and say, officials protect each other. How could a commoner like me receive any help? So after they took over your pharmacy, they returned your wife and children to you? They did. He Yao deeply sighed and said, but they used another method to imprison my wife and children. Moreover, they only let me see them once a month. Luo Qingshun frowned and fell into deep thought. She had a feeling that this whole matter was not so simple. Her eyebrows moved slightly as she said, if I give up your wife and child, you have to promise me one thing. Miss, please speak. I need 2 rooms for 2 people. Luo Qingshun thought for a while and said, of course, I can also help you take care of the clinic. This is a very good deal. Luo Qingshun was puzzled. What is Elder he hesitating about? This old man just thinks that a little girl like you can't win against them. Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes, the corners of her mouth forming an extremely cold smile as she said, it's easy to defeat them. The difficult part is to make them suffer. Hiao naturally did not understand what she meant, but whether she succeeded or not, it would not implicate him, so he did not care. During dinner, Luo Qingshun quietly poisoned the food of Chun Sheng and the other 2 people. They ate very happily and did not notice it at all. It was not until they had diarrhea in the middle of the night that they woke He Yao up. Old man, we clearly ate the same thing. Why only the 3 of us have diarrhea? Chun Sheng clutched his stomach and said, say it. Did you poison us? No, I didn't. He Yao shook his head in panic and said, it's not me. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 3556. You still want to quibble. If it's not you, then who is it? Chun Sheng raised his fist and wanted to rush forward, but he didn't know that his stomach was rolling, his legs were weak, and he didn't have any strength left. It's me. Luo Qingshun's eyes were faint. The corner of her mouth outlined a very faint smile. I don't know how my poison compares to the one Dr. Chun gave me today. You. In just a moment, Chun Sheng's face turned pale. He really didn't think that this poison was the one that poisoned him. It's me, are you surprised? Luo Qingshun shrugged her shoulders and chuckled. I wasn't surprised when you poisoned me. You? How could you know? Chun Sheng's eyes widened as he looked at her in disbelief. You hurry up and give me the antidote. He clearly felt that the poison in his body was not ordinary. Not only did he have diarrhea, even the blood in his body was burning, It was very uncomfortable. Is it important how I know? Luo Qingshun gently raised her eyebrows. The important thing is that I don't intend to give you the antidote. What do you want to do? This poison won't act up immediately. It will only cause diarrhea every day until after 81 days of bleeding from the 7 orifices and death. Luo Qingshun looked at them and said, You have no choice now. You can only listen to me or wait for death. Humph! Chen Sheng coldly snorted. You're too confident. Mu Jian knows the best doctor. How could he not be able to detoxify this poison? You can give it a try. Luo Qingshun calmly replied. But if you tell this to Mu Ning, there will be no chance to turn back. I'll let you choose however you want. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingshun didn't hesitate to turn around, intending to leave. What do you think you can hide? Chen Sheng threatened. Even if we die, Miss Mu won't let you go. Pung. In the next second, Luo Qingshun slightly raised her right hand. The exquisite ring emitted a faint white light, and the water tank in her right hand instantly shattered into pieces. Hiss! Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. The ugly little brother, standing behind Chen Sheng, was so scared that he directly peed on the ground. Do you think I'm afraid of her? Luo Qingshun's eyebrows slightly moved. Smart people are conceited. I just want the story to develop a little more exciting. If she just let Mu Ning die, it would be too easy. The original Mu's to be careful. She's to be careful. But in the end, she didn't have a good end. This wasn't because of how smart Mu Ning was, but because of how stupid the original owner was. Immortal. Immortals to me. I. Mu to you. We're Miss Mu. S to the ends to you. To Isti. S to me to S. So you're 3 brothers. Luo Qingshun took out a small bottle from her pocket and put it to the side. This is a temporary antidote. Take one a day and you won't have diarrhea. I can't give you the real antidote right now. Chen Xing almost didn't say anything else. He rushed forward and ate one. I'll listen to Miss Boss arrangements. Although he loved money, he was a greedy person who was afraid of death. When Luo Qingshun broke the water tank just now, he was really scared. He originally thought that only by following the strong could he become stronger. This was called a wise man submits to circumstances, not a betrayal. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 35:57. In the thatched cottage 3 li away, Chen Sheng released He Yao's wife and son. He also apologized to He Yao, saying that they had no choice but to do so. After all, Mu Ning was definitely not as gentle and virtuous as she appeared to be. Just report back if it's related to me. Luo Qingshun counted on her fingers. When was she planning on having me go back? 7 days later. Chen Sheng said honestly, actually, according to your pulse, there shouldn't be any problem. Why would there be a red dot? I was lying to her. Luo Qingshun said calmly. You guys thought you were trying to lure me into a trap, but you didn't know that I was waiting for you guys to come in. Boss, you're really admirable. Lackey number 1 said. Boss is definitely the most powerful woman I've ever seen. Lackey number 2 said. So, boss, what do you want to do next? Chen Sheng's eyes shone with a golden light. Kill your way back. No. Luo Qingshun's eyebrows twitched slightly. In Mu Clan, I'm still that submissive servant girl. But here? How about here? I want to be a doctor. He Yao was stunned for a moment, then said, Since ancient times, very few women have been doctors. Then why don't you just dress up as a man? Luo Qingshun waved her hand. That's not a problem. The problem is, boss, just say the word. The 3 of us are willing to do anything for you. Chen Sheng patted his chest. Lackey number 1 and lackey number 2 chimed in with the same gesture. Luo Qingshun rested her chin on her right hand and narrowed her eyes. Are the 3 of you sure you want to go into the frying pan for me? Boss, you can't bear to let us go into the frying pan, right? I'm quite willing. Don't. Boss, don't be like this. Chen Sheng immediately said, All right, of course I'm not going into the frying pan. Luo Qingshun raised her eyebrows. I want to get my aunt and brother out of Mu Clan. Boss, what do you need us to do? 3 days later, at Haishur, you will kidnap my Inyang. Luo Qingshun's brows moved as she said, I have my own ways to deal with the rest. Didn't she want to be a good person in front of Song Shaoling? She wouldn't be able to be a good person. Every 15th day of the year, Mu Ning would obediently greet the elders in the Mu clan. In order to make Song Shaoling have a good impression of her, she would also greet the original owner's mother. This was also why the original owner always thought Mu Ning was a good person. She really did a good job on the surface. Got it, boss. Chun Sheng and the others were good at disguising themselves. After all, they often did bad things for Mu Ning. If they weren't good at disguising themselves, they would be easily found out. On the 15th, Mu Ning happened to leave the original owner's concubine's room. The host wanted Mu Ning to have her first taste of being accused of a groundless crime. Of course, the most important reason was that the original owner wanted to pretend to be gentle and virtuous in front of Song Shaoling. She didn't want to appear bad in front of him. But in the end, she didn't get what she wanted. She should be very angry. When Chen Sheng brought the original owner's concubine back, Luo Qingchen disguised herself as a man and sneaked into the Mu clan. Sure enough, when the servant girls who usually served Chen Xiu found her missing, they searched everywhere. In less than an hour, the entire Mu clan knew she was missing. Of course, this included Song Shaoling and Mu Ning. Calm. Wonderful book house.